Why not? Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here today. And just to shatter a myth right out of the gate, it was 90 degrees in Nebraska yesterday, so it feels great here. You know, much more temperate. For whatever reason, Nebraska is one of those states that you can never figure out. There's this perception that it's snowy and cold and windy all the time. And it's really not. It's the weather is, well, we're not quite as far north as the Dakotas and Michigan and Minnesota and all that. So today, we're going to talk a little bit about a lot of stuff. If you would like a copy of what we're going to share with you, I think what we're going to do, I was just talking to Nancy about this, we're probably just going to send it off to everyone automatically. There's a lot of graphics and links and information that's going to be in the PowerPoint presentation that you won't have to scramble to write things down quite as fast. In front of you, there's a workbook. It's the one with the little coil on the side. You might want to open that up. There's a place in there for you to follow along and take notes with everything we're going to be talking about today. So that's going to be your guidebook as we move forward through the day. We know that the more tactile we can make it and the more you write down, obviously, as opposed to having written it all down for you, there are places where you can write in the answers. We know that it increases retention by an average of 42%. So, crazy. Are there any tweeters today? Anybody who's tweeting? We have got a couple. Okay, one. You're a couple. So, one. I thought I saw another half arm up there. So if you're going to be tweeting today, we'd like you to use the hashtag Firespring. My handle on Twitter is at Jay Wilk, Jaywilk. We're going to touch on Twitter today, but we're not going to go into the depths of it. There are so many things you can use Twitter for in meaningful ways in your organization that we barely have the time to really cover it. Firespring is based in Lincoln, Nebraska. And we've been in the business of helping nonprofit organizations with their web presence for close to 15 years now. It's what we do. We exist as a company to leverage our people, our products, and our profit as a force for good, as opposed to what most nonprofits or most for-profits, exist for, which is to maximize shareholder value, or in other words, make money for the owners of the company. Our business is very different. We really pride ourselves on being a B Corp. And I'm going to share with you a little bit about B Corp here.
Others share this dream and have begun to turn the dream into a community. This community signed a Declaration of Interdependence and invited others to join them. Now more than 900 companies from 29 countries are turning our community into a global movement to redefine success in business. B corporations use the power of business to solve social and environmental problems. An eyewear company that serves the poor. A food service company that serves over 1 million meals to low-income public school students every week. A manufacturer that goes green and helps workers move from welfare to a career. An online bookseller that recycles used books and funds local libraries and global literacy. An outdoor apparel company that stewards the environment. An ice cream company that maintains its mission post-sale. B Corp is a certification that helps consumers identify these change makers. And investors make money and make a difference. As a community, we are passing laws across the country, creating a new kind of company that serves society and shareholders. We are leading a global movement of people using business as a force for good. Join us. Be the change.
So we're on a quest in Nebraska. We were the first B Corp in the state of Nebraska. We're on a quest to get as many different companies as we can to cross over to the good side, so to speak, and to join us in that movement. We do it at Firespring through our Power of Three program, where we donate 3% of our technology to nonprofits that need help at the lower end of that economic scale. 3% of our revenue. Last year we gave away a little more than $1 million in donations in our local community in the state of Nebraska, in Omaha and Lincoln. And then 3% of our people. We do that by having everyone in our company volunteer 1 day a month. If you do the math, 3% over the course of a year is 1 day every month. They go out in the community and volunteer in an organization of their choice. And it doesn't count against vacation or anything like that. It's something that we feel is really important. So today, as we get started here, we're going to talk about the 3 biggest website mistakes that nonprofits make, the 5 required elements of an engaging website, and I'm going to share with you why landing pages are so important. I believe that landing pages are the single most important thing as it relates to an online website strategy for an organization that we need to be thinking about today. And so many of us don't even really know what they are, or why they're important, or why they matter. By the time you walk out of here today, you're going to be an expert in landing pages. And you're going to wow all the people around you with your knowledge about how important landing pages are. We'll talk about the importance of thought leadership. Why being the person or the organization that people think of when something comes up in the community is critical. How to create and sustain a blog for your nonprofit. I'm going to give you the secret sauce to making that work, because for most of it, we have failed. What social media should we care about? How to engage in social media in less than 15 minutes a day. It's my opinion that no one, unless it's your full-time job, and I doubt that any of us have a full-time job of managing the social media for your organization, no one should be on social media more than 15 minutes a day, at least for professional use, for the stuff that you're doing with your organization. Now, I know there's some Facebook addicted people here today, and we can have a special session in the back and see if we can break you of that. How technology, tools, tips, and tricks are going to change your life, and then I'm going to share with you several different action steps, some very specific things you can begin doing this afternoon, tomorrow, to make a difference in your organization and how you utilize all these tools to be online and on fire, as we say. And I do want to share with you that it's not nearly as difficult as it seems on the surface for so many of us. I think that learning how to do all this is kind of like riding a bike. You will get the hang of it. All right. Now that kid has the right attitude, and hopefully we have the right attitude to learn some things today. I want to start by talking a little bit about technology. Technology is a beast, as we can tell. This commercial just came out a few months ago. I've been using this for 10 years, and they ruined it for me with that commercial. So there you go. That's all about the internet. We learned everything we need to know. In 1995, a year after that clip was recorded, in 1995, there were less than 10,000 websites in the entire world on the internet. By the end of 1996, there were more than 100 million websites on the internet. So that's the time period that this whole thing just took off. It's really, really, really crazy. These are my parents, my dad, Gil, and my mom, Lynn. And my parents can best be described as recovering Luddites. They didn't really think the internet was something they needed to worry about, that this whole craze of technology was something. My mother, she's one of the most beautiful people in the world, but she's a little stubborn. She had the same cell phone, this is not an exaggeration, she had the same cell phone for 17 years. And she finally just got rid of it. We're in a very small town in central Nebraska, where my parents are from, and she was getting phone calls from the cell company literally every couple of months saying, "Hey, we'd really appreciate if you could upgrade your phone." They were waiting for her so they could upgrade the tower. Isn't that so? That's the benefit of being in a small town, right? That they'll wait for you, but they really want you to move along. So, but once they discovered email and texting and Facebook and all of these different things, Skype, my mom and my dad now are, Skyping with the grandchildren, and Facebook is kind of crazy. Think about how fast that took off. What pulls the average person 65 years of age plus into Facebook? Their grandkids, right? I mean, that's what gets them in. They feel, we better get there or we're going to miss out on everything. And there's some truth to that. That's where the conversations are happening. It's a way to stay in touch and to stay connected. I was getting ready to go home to the small town in Nebraska where my parents live and visit them. This was now 2 or 3 years ago, and I called my mom, left a voicemail, heard nothing back, and finally I sent her an email, heard nothing back. And I finally kept calling her until she answered, and I said, "Hey, Mom, I've been trying to get a hold of you to find out if you guys are going to be home on such and such weekend. I'm going to come through." And she said, "Well, why didn't you just Facebook me?" And I said, "Who are you and what have you done with my mother?" She's the one who said, "I'm never going to go on that stupid thing." And there she was. So they finally bit the bullet and got into it. And it's crazy how much momentum now has happened in the world now that we're all there. The vast majority of the people in the world are connected in some technology way. So we're gonna dig into technology a little bit later. We're gonna talk about the tools and some techniques and some tips that you can take with you, ways to use technology, the specific apps. I'm gonna take you behind the curtain and show you kind of the secrets of how I have evolved to manage my technology. We're actually gonna go live later on in the morning here. And I'll share with you exactly what I do, and I think that you're going to learn some things that will be really helpful for you to be really efficient as to how you use technology. But we're going to start today at the most important place for a nonprofit organization, and that is your website. Everything starts and ends with your website. Your website is the core center of your organization's universe. It's the center of your brand. Everything you do related to your organization ultimately ties people back to their website. But we know that nonprofits struggle. We know that of the 88% of nonprofits who have a website today, nearly 3/4 of us have somebody that either donated that website to us, or we use a volunteer or a board member or a public agency, what we refer to affectionately as our go-to geeks. In every organization, we have a go-to geek. It's that person who has the highest technical acumen in our midst. They may be a board member, it may be the nephew of a son's hairdresser who's on the board, whatever, but we all have these go-to geeks. Some of us are accidental techies, meaning that we're the ones that get thrust into the role because there's no one else to do it, so we just become kind of techie even though we're really not wired that way. In any case, it's a struggle for so many nonprofits to figure out how to make this all fit together and how to make it work. Again, we know that your website sits at the core of your brand, and then what we do is we send people right back off of our website. They land on our website, we bring them there, and then we send them right back off so they can go to Eventbrite to register, or they go to Volunteer Spot to volunteer, or they go to PayPal to give money, or to WordPress to do blogging, whatever it is. That's where we make the biggest mistake in our websites, and it's largely because we are using tools like WordPress to manage our websites. WordPress, which was built as a blogging tool, and nonprofits say, "Oh, here's something free. Let's see what if we can hack away at this and make it work for a website." And that's what ended up happening. But then we end up plugging in all these free things, the free widgets and all of the modules and plugins that you use on WordPress, and it becomes very difficult to build out what you need in a site like WordPress. So just be careful if that's what you're doing and you're sending people back off of your website. You want to bring them to your website and make them have a very awesome experience when they're there. So I'm going to share with you the 3 biggest mistakes that nonprofits make when they develop a web presence. And think of this as the 30,000-foot view of your website. And then we're going to get very specific as I move forward with the 5 elements of a powerful and engaging website. So the 3 biggest mistakes. Number 3, we'll start with that and move our way up, is the do-it-cheap mentality. So has anybody ever heard the expression in the nonprofit world of do more with less? We have to find a way to do more with less. You know what? There are so many people in the nonprofit sector that get so affixed on that mindset that we end up making decisions totally based on how much does something cost instead of what's the return on investment going to be. If we can spend $5 and get $10 back, isn't that better than spending $1 and getting nothing back? I mean, and it's that concept that nonprofits have. We just got to spend as little as possible, and we instead of focusing on ROI. So what I'm going to hopefully do with you in this process is help you understand why ROI is more important than cost. And it is every time across the board. So we also refer to the do-it-cheap mentality as the executive director's really smart 14-year-old nephew with a computer syndrome, also known as we've got a volunteer working on it for us syndrome. So these, again, are the go-to geeks that we bring into our midst. These amazing, awesome, wonderful, fantastic people who do great things for our organization. And I like to say nice things about them because I've been the go-to geek in many organizations over the course of my lifetime. This is the role that I play when I sit on a board and when I plug in and get engaged all the way back, to when I was in college and high school. It's okay. Why don't you help out with the technology stuff? And I think it's fantastic. It's awesome. But here's what happens: the go-to geeks in our life, on average, this is a national average according to the Chronicle of Philanthropy, will last 2 to 2.5 years in your organization before it's time for them to move on. And it's not really their choice to move on. Life happens. I have a child or a third child, or I'm going to college, or my job gets really busy, or the 14-year-old transitions to middle school and homework is really serious now. Whatever. There's something that happens and they have to move on. If you hire a person to develop your website and it's like one of these people that say, I'll do it for nothing or for practically nothing because I want to get some experience and I want to help, and we see this happen too. What happens to these people that do this freelance, the average freelance web developer has a tenure of less than 3 years because they get burned out. They start off doing it and it's fun, it's awesome, and then they go 6 months, a year into it, and then 2 years into it. Now instead of having 1 or 2 or 3 clients like they did when they started working with you, now they have 30 clients. And the phone's just ringing, and I want to build new stuff, and they all want me to deal with this old stuff, and it becomes really frustrating for them. And they get burned out and they move on. So we go through these cycles over and over and over again. And I'm going to share with you the best way to avoid that and to move on from that. Number 2 is failing to make the site part of the overall strategy or mission of the organization. So what this means is that you've got folks in your organization, I just talked about them, that are out there building your website. These amazing, awesome, wonderful people. You have other people that are building out your events, that are organized, that are responsible for managing all the events, your marketing plan, your mission statements. These are the leadership team, the people that are at the core. But we have these different silos that we create that make it very difficult for all of these different groups to work together. We tend to say, you're really smart with this website stuff. Why don't you take this? Just run with it, make it happen. And that's one of the biggest mistakes that can happen. Even the people that are these go-to geeks will tell you they want and they crave and they desire to have the leadership team from that organization be substantially involved in how this website is going to be. What's going to be in it? What's the voice that it's going to speak in? What's the tone? What's the, of course, the purpose, the mission of the organization? We've got to have all of that stuff really permeated in, and all of these different silos need to be working together as one in order for a website to be effective. It takes way more than just a mission statement hidden away somewhere on your website. How many have a mission statement posted on your website somewhere? Okay, now raise your hand again if you think people read it. I have the stats on this, I know. We track stuff for more than 3,000 nonprofit organizations throughout the United States, and we look at the aggregated data, and so we know how many people will go to a mission statement page and be on it long enough to read it. Now, most of you who probably raised your hand the second time probably have it on your front page, and that's why you think they're reading it. but they don't even read it there. But that's okay, you can think that. We've heat mapped front pages and we see where people look. If there's a big block of text, they look away. They look at graphics, they look at headlines. People don't look at big blocks of text. So that's a side point. But the average person or the average organization, if you have a mission statement on your website, that mission statement will be read slightly less than 2 times out of 100. It's 1.8%. So fewer than 2 out of 100 people who go to your website will ever read your mission statement. Why do you think that is? Anybody know? Doesn't excite them? Well, they think they already know what it is that you do, more than likely. And don't we all kind of think, okay, well, if I'm looking on somebody's website, if I'm looking to try to figure out who they are and what they're about, I'm going to look at their front page and try to figure it out from the context clues that are given to me on their front page. That's the way we typically do it. We're typically not going in and looking at their website or looking at their mission statement, et cetera. And I believe that at least half of that 1.8 are y'all looking at each other's pages trying to get ideas on how to evolve your own mission statement. That's what we see all the time. Number 1, lack of research and planning. This is how it typically goes when a nonprofit decides that it's time to update their website. Somebody says in a meeting, you know what? It's been 5 years since we updated our website. We need to do something. Okay, well, let's do something about this. Put somebody in charge. It's going to be, the executive director, a marketing person, a fundraising professional, whatever. There's going to be someone that's going to run the project. They'll pull everybody together, all the key staff and maybe a couple of key volunteers, maybe board members. They're going to put everybody in a room, and someone will go over the rules of brainstorming. We've all heard these before, right? Well, no idea is a bad idea. Let's get everything up on the table because we get the really good ideas from the crazy stuff that you throw out. Let's get everything up there. And you start writing things on the wall, and pretty soon you've got a wall full of ideas. Oh, I've got an idea. How about we add this feature? I saw this on a website the other day, and it's really cool. And you get all this stuff up on the wall. And then the person running the meeting kind of sits back, and they kind of slowly turn over and fix their gaze on the go-to geek who's sitting in the room with their computer out, kind of taking notes and looking up stuff. And they'll say, okay, which ones of these things can we actually do? And they'll kind of roll their head back a little bit and think, oh, man. And they'll probably start looking for stuff. And they say, well, I can find a module that does this. And they'll say, well, we can do this one and that one. We probably can't do this or this. I don't know how we would do that. But they start making decisions based upon what they're capable of building rather than what it is that their constituents want them to build. And how crazy is that? And I understand it completely. This is how it goes nearly every time. I understand why we do that. We need to build what we're capable of building, right? But wouldn't it be far better to understand at a deep level what it is that the people that come to our websites want from us and build something out for that? Think about all these different audiences. We have employees. We have volunteers, donors, and contributors, other nonprofit organizations, members of the media, hopefully, wanting to know more about what we're doing, board members, the constituents themselves, the people that our organizations serve in the community are coming. All of these different audiences, and they're all looking for something a little bit different. And we need to make sure our website is built out so that it caters to all of these different audiences in a meaningful way. So this is going to be really important for us to understand as we move forward. How do we figure that out? Because I know that we, collectively, as a group of nonprofits that are represented here today, we don't have the skill set nor the budget to go out and do professional focus groups where we bring in people and use a two-way mirror and we film them and we heat map what's on the screens and we do all that stuff. We don't have the budgets to do that. But the great news is, we do at Firespring, and we have. We've put more than 1,000 constituents into focus groups in the last couple of years, in the last 5 years. And we've asked them the question, if we were to build the perfect website for a nonprofit organization, and we give lots of examples, many of those examples, and many of them came from the arts, and we would say, what is it that this organization could build into their website that would compel you as a donor, as a volunteer, as a board member, whatever, to use this website, to come and engage with this organization in a meaningful way. And that's what I'm going to share with you for the rest of the session today, starting with the 4 attributes of an engaging web presence. The biggest picture, which is understanding your website's positioning. The positioning of your website is all about the voice that your website speaks in. So part one of 4 of the 4 attributes of an engaging web presence is your website's voice, otherwise known as positioning. Positioning, again, is the voice that your website speaks in. When I come to it, I should get a feel for who you are and what you're about simply by what you have there on your front page. Number 2 refers to the public aspect of your website. So www.yourorganization.org, whatever your domain name is, that's your public website. And in 2015, that should work very closely in concert with your private website. Sometimes we call this a content management system. But you should be able to come to this website, use a username and password, log in, and just change something, have it automatically update something on your public website. That's what we're talking about. A very simple way for you to come to a website, username and password, and update information on your public website without having to go through your go-to geek, who becomes a gatekeeper in that scenario. And who wants to be a gatekeeper? No one wants to be a gatekeeper for anything. We all want to make sure that things happen quickly and easily. And the 4th element is promotion. Promotion is how you get the word out about your website so that people know that it's there. And I'm going to take just a quick moment and dig into promotion a little bit. We could spend an entire hour on this topic and barely scratch the surface of it, but I'm going to just take a couple of really quick minutes and share with you the top 3 proven methods for promoting your website. And number 1 is make sure that you get your domain name everywhere you can. This has been the case since the beginning of the internet, since we first learned about it, since they were talking about it on the Today Show, and we started learning what it is. They said, well, get your domain name on everything. So if you give away, tchotchkes like this stuff, then make sure your domain name's on there. It should be on the footer of your emails. It should be, of course, on your business cards that get handed out. If you have a vehicle that drives around town, it should be on that. If your building or venue is in a high traffic location, there should be some way to incorporate your domain name into your signage or your windows or something. Make sure that people know your domain name and get it everywhere you can. Number 2 is use landing pages. I'm going to dig deep into this today, so I'm going to just kind of skim over this right now, but it's really important that we understand what landing pages are and why they're so important. And number 3 is leveraging social media. Social media is all about making sure that we extend the reach and extend the cause of whatever it is that we're working on. So if we become a thought leader in our space and we have lots of information we want to share with the community, we extend that through the use of social media. We're also going to be spending a lot of time on that today, so I'm not going to dig down that rabbit hole right now. But the golden rule of web promotion, the thing at the top of all this that we need to remember, is that and this is really important to think about what we mean by this, is tell people what's in it for them if they come to your website. Don't just say, hey, check us out online, or see us online, or go to our website at www, like in the footer of your email. Give them a reason. Update your email footer like once a month or once a quarter at least, and give them a landing page where they can land on when they click on that, which we'll talk more about later. But the point with this is that I'm not going to come to your website if all you tell me is check us out online. I don't have time for that. None of us do. None of us have time for that. But if we instead say, hey, go to our website and sign up to volunteer for XYZ event. If I'm interested in XYZ event, I'm going to now have a reason to come to your website. Go to our website and sign up for XYZ or to donate for this cause or this campaign or buy tickets for this or that. Be very specific as to what it is that you want them to do. And if we're specific as to what it is that we want them to do, the likelihood that they'll do it is on a huge, huge scale much more likely. So tell people what's in it for them, and they will come. Just tell them to come, and they will not. That's the primary difference. So really think about how that works. So let's dig into this for a moment. We know that 82% of people who give money or buy tickets from an arts organization are going to go to your website before they give or buy. 82% are going to go to your website. Now, if your website was built on the premise of we need to do more with less, think about what that's going to do when it impacts the visitor that comes to this website. And this is one of the primary things that we're going to dig into today, are the 5 elements of a powerful and engaging website. And we're going to go through this, and then we're going to go through an exercise at the end of this where we can work together on making sure we understand how we're doing as organizations with our own websites. So think of structure just as the way that we build our website or the way we organize it so that people can find what they're looking for, so they can find their way around. Now, most of us think of structure as navigation. How do we navigate through a website? And the first thing that we really need to focus on with navigation are these high-level aspects at the menu item. So about us, calendar, gallery. You want to make sure you never, ever, ever have more than 8. The ideal number is about 5 different category choices. If you have 5 to 8, you're going to be serving your constituents well. They're going to be able to find what they're looking for at a high level from your menu structure. 5 to 8 is an ideal number. You also should have some kind of search tool where you can type in information and they can search for a phrase or word or whatever it is that they're looking for on your website. So having a search tool and then having a high-level menu structure. And the third thing that every website should have is some kind of sitemap. The sitemap can be on its own page. It can be on the footer of every page, like this example. It can be a pull-down or pull-up menu where you click on a bar and it just pops up and has everything there. But it basically gives you an opportunity to see all the different things that are going on this website all in one place. Savvy internet users, those who are online a lot, will typically always defer towards a sitemap to find their way around because they know they're going to find what they're looking for a lot faster than just poking around and trying to find it on their own. So having a search tool, a sitemap, or a pull-up, pull-down bar of some sort, and having the high-level menu structure, 3 or more different ways to navigate through the website. So when I come here, I can find my way around. Now, the magic that you're trying to accomplish here, and this is how you evaluate how well you do with structure on your own website. If you can get from where you are to anywhere else you want to be or that you could be on your website in 3 clicks or less, you've probably got a well-designed website from a structure perspective. So that means, let's say I'm in the Become a Volunteer page and I'm thinking, oh, I wonder, this is kind of a silly example, but I need to look up their annual report for some reason. How do I get there? Once I'm on this page, how do I get to that? Well, I could go type it into the search bar and look for it there. I can just come down to the sitemap and I see it listed right here. Or I might want to go back up here and see, okay, which one of these would I click on? Probably About Us, maybe, I don't know, and then start to dig for it. But if you have the sitemap or the footer bar and or a search tool, you're going to get there right away. So 3 or fewer clicks to get from anywhere to anywhere else on the website. That's the most important element when it comes to site structure. All right, let's talk about design now. I love design. I'm kind of a right-brain person. This is the thing that probably appeals to me the most. We're all wired differently in terms of how we see things. I think of design as being fascinating. The projector up here and these beautiful light fixtures in this room. Everything's designed with some purpose, right? Some of it is functional, some is aesthetic. Hopefully it's a good combination of both. A website is no different. But a website should really be designed from the standpoint, the most important thing of it needs to tell the story of the organization. At the highest level, a website needs to tell the story of your organization, and that's really what makes it well designed. It can be, absolutely god-awful ugly, to be blunt, and you know what? It would be okay as long as it tells the story of that organization. The way it looks and feels doesn't matter as much as does it tell the story. When I land on this website, do I instantly get who this organization is? Do I understand them? Here's an organization that does a good job with it, the Heidelberg Project. Changing lives through art since 1986. It's in their name. Their tagline helps express who they are. This awesome photograph, using art to provoke thought, promote discussion, inspire action, and heal communities. You get it. You get who this organization is the second you land on this site, because the photograph combined with the taglines and the headlines connect it with me. It connects the dots. So your goal, when someone comes to your front page, you want them within 5 seconds to get it, to understand. And a lot of arts organizations tend to use kind of esoteric, stylish things on their website that make it really a little more convoluted than it should be or could be. Make sure that you have a proper balance of headlines or sub-headlines along with photographs that tell the story of your organization. That's the most important thing when it comes to graphic design. The other thing, too, is make sure that you're using examples from the ADA compliance checklist. You want all of the visitors to your website to be able to have a really good experience on your website. And again, when you get a copy of the presentation, you'll get this checklist included. You should send this over to your web designer and say, hey, make sure we're doing all these things. It's a really good action item if you want to make sure that you're doing the right things on your website. So for example, let me back up a moment. If I'm a sight-impaired visitor, I have a little device that's installed on my computer that will essentially read to me what's on the screen. So I can experience the internet just like a sighted person, just by taking my mouse and moving it across the screen, and it's going to read to me what it finds on the screen. So if I scroll over text, it's going to read the text to me. If I scroll over a photograph, what is it going to read to me? Does anybody know? Yeah, there's a tag that lies underneath that image. If you scroll over a photograph, there's a tag on every photograph. What do we find on 80% of nonprofit organizations' tags? Photo 1, 2, 3. Front page, section 2, photo 3. Those are the kind of names we find in nonprofit organizations because we tend to work more with novice developers and people that don't really think it looks fine. You look at it, it looks absolutely fine. But you've got to have image tags. And the image tags should be descriptive of what's in the photograph. Not just, again, tags that say photo 1, photo 2, photo 3, but be descriptive of what's in the photograph. So a sight-impaired visitor who's scrolling across, make it say something so that I can see and understand what's in this photograph. Yes?
The term tag versus alternate text, is that like the same thing?
It's the same thing, yeah. So alternate text, it's just a tag. When you're putting photographs into a website, there's a tag that you can tag the photograph with, and every web designer will know what that means. Most of them don't pay. I would say people that are really good at what they're doing will always make sure that they're descriptive of what's in the photograph. Those that don't really know any better will just tag it something like, again, photo 1, photo 2, photo 3. And that's a big mistake. So make sure that you're following all of these guidelines. There are a lot of them that I would encourage you to dig into from a design perspective. All right, let's talk about number 3, content. And content, as they say, at least since Al Gore invented the internet and gave it to us all those years ago, content has been king. And it is. It's incredibly important that we have deep and diverse and rich content on our websites. But I would like to say that, well, maybe we should start thinking about, here it is, 2015, evolving this a tiny bit. And instead of saying content is king, it might be more relevant today to say context is king. And so context, what that means is that the information has to have relevancy to the end user. If I'm coming to your website and you have a schedule for the Florida Marlins or some crazy thing like that on the front page of your website, which I know none of you do, but 10 years ago, that's what a lot of organizations did. They said, well, let's put something up there that we think people are going to be looking for, and then they'll have to come to our website to find it. Well, that doesn't work anymore. We have Google now. We have this thing that makes it easy to type anything in and find what we're looking for really, really easily. So make sure that all of the information on your website is relevant to your audience, to your audiences, the different people that are coming to the website. So here's an organization that does a great job with that. It's in our hometown, the International Quilt Study Center and Museum. They have really fantastic content. You go into their content collection, you can search their collections, and you can go through and find stuff. There are more than 10,000 examples entered into their back end where you can go and find these collections. It's remarkable. We do their website for them, and I was like, okay, it's a quilt center, cool, that's awesome. And I was blown away when I went over there. I was absolutely blown away by the depth of what they had and the coolness of what they had and the interest that people all around the world had in what they had. I'm constantly exposed to these kind of things, especially in the world of the arts, the things that are out there that I didn't know were out there. And they do a fantastic job with their content because it's deep and it's diverse. And it's available, and there are hundreds of thousands of people all over the world that are on this website every month looking and finding things that are fascinating to them, and they do a great job with it. The most important thing with content, though, isn't even the content itself. It's how do we get the content into the website in the first place? And to that end, in today's world, 2015, every organization should have their website in a content management system that makes it really easy to come in and say, okay, well, this is the page that I want to update. I'm going to just type and paste and update it. And when I'm done, I click save, and boom, it automatically updates. So in other words, drop and drag, point and click simple to update a blog post, to add an entry to a catalog, to add an event. I want to create an event that I can sell tickets to, and I should be able to just fill out a few basic pieces of information, click a button, and boom, it's done. I shouldn't have to do a lot of programming. I shouldn't have to go through my go-to geek to do it. I should be able to do it myself. A fundraising professional, a leader in any nonprofit organization should have access to their own content management system so that he or she can update the information on that content management system and on that website ourselves. We shouldn't have to go through someone else to do it. It's my opinion that every nonprofit should have a minimum of 3 people who have the ability to update and modify content. You know, even if you're a one-person operation, you know, there's not one of us that exists that doesn't have either volunteers or donors or constituents or other people that care about us. Otherwise, we wouldn't exist. I know that. So it's not just about employees. They don't have to be employees of the organization. They can be volunteers. They can be board members. They can be whomever. But find 3 people in your organization that are interested in helping evolve the content. That's one of the ways we're going to talk about thought leadership here in a little bit. And it's critical that we have that access and the ability to do that. It's 2015. 10 years ago, I would have made a recommendation that was different. I would say that everything should go through one person because you want to have consistency of voice and make sure that everything sounds and feels like it's similar. Those days are so long gone. Now it's way more important for us to have content that's updated when we have it, you know, at our fingertips, when we want it. If you can't sit down right now, like on the break, when we break here in a little bit, and update something on your own website, then you need to change that. Everyone here should have the ability to do that. If you're at this kind of workshop today, it tells me that you're the kind of person in your organization who should have the ability to update and modify something on your own website. Now, I'm not talking about changing design. I want to be clear on that. Adding a headline that has a purple, pink, blue flashing light and whatever, the kind of things that we do with all these design components. I'm not talking about changing design. I'm talking about adding an article or changing something on a post. Let's say we post an event. We've got an event coming up next week, and someone calls up and says, hey, what's the dress code for that event? Oh, it's not on there? Oh, let's do smart casual, whatever that means. Okay, smart casual it is. So you should be able to log into your own website and add that right there without having to go through someone else to do it. That's what we're talking about. Make it very simple. You shouldn't have to pull punches to do that. All right, so that's content. Now, if I started pulling up all of your websites one by one, and we grade them in front of everybody, don't worry, I see a few of you looking nervous when I say that. You would probably find that 2 out of 3 of these first 3 elements, most of the people here do a decent job with. Structure, design, content, 2 out of 3 organizations will do a decent job with. It's 4 and 5 where nearly everyone struggles. All right, let's talk about the 4th. Functionality. These are the tools that we build into the website that make it not only possible, but in many cases necessary for the people that we connect with online to use these tools to engage with us in a meaningful way. So for example, they're coming here to volunteer. They're coming to make a donation or to connect with us in some way or to go to our event calendar. Online registration, the ability to come and connect and register. The single most important thing, by the way, the number one thing according to all the focus groups we've done in the last several years is they want to be able to come and either register for something or buy a ticket. It's one of those 2 things. And it's kind of the same vernacular depending. If you're an arts organization that sells tickets, that's what they want to do. If you're a nonprofit organization that has events and people want to register to attend those events, that's what they want to do. They want to register online. And the ability to do online registration is really critical. And I'm going to break a few hearts here. And I apologize in advance if this makes you feel bad. But having a PDF file on your website that I can download, fill out, scan, and email back to you is not online registration. That's providing a manual form of registration through an online mechanism. It's not manual registration. It's frustrating for people. We hear it all the time when we get focus groups together that we go to websites and it comes to a registration form, and it's just a PDF file basically that they can print out and fill out and then scan and email back to you. That's not online registration. Online registration means you have the ability to go in and register through the website by plugging in the basic information, even adding a credit card and taking care of it all in one place. That's what online registration is. All right, so it's really important that we nail that down. We're going to talk a lot more about other things related to functionality as we move forward, so I'm going to move past it right now, and we're going to move on to the fifth and final element. In addition to being a great Bruce Willis movie, the fifth element is vitality. And vitality, simply stated, is the perception of the freshness of content. The perception of the freshness of content. Now, what this is saying is that on your website, you're going to have content that's available on your website, right? And you're going to have information that's there. And the people that are coming to your website need to feel like every time they come to your website, it feels like it's been updated. There's something new and interesting there. They want to constantly be thinking that it's not just the front page, but it's every page on the website must be updated all the time. And there's a secret sauce for doing this. There's a silver bullet that I'm going to share with you right now that very few organizations know about. It's having dated content on your front page with at least 3 occurrences, a minimum of once every 7 days. So in other words, dated content that's never more than 7 days apart, 3 occurrences, so my brain knows, well, this is happening frequently, it's happening ongoing. And if you can do that, having dated content never more than 7 days apart with at least 3 occurrences on your front page, what happens in the brain of the person that comes to your website is pretty awesome. They get this perception that, this entire website is updated all the time. It's like a Jedi mind trick, it's like, this website has been updated. And my brain tells me the entire thing must be updated all the time. We've tested this over and over and over again. And in fact, we've actually gone through time frames in our past where where I've really kind of lost faith in this concept. And we did some tests and quickly regained faith. For example, there was a time period when I would look back, looking at the front page, so this is like the blog post, right? That's the best way to pull this off, by the way, is to have a blog where it's unique content with three occurrences of recurring content. And those posts were sticking up there, and I could see that they were working well, but when we went into the stats report, into the analytics, looking under the hood for Google, we learned that only about 3 or 4% of the people that came to the website were actually clicking on those posts and reading them. And I thought, let's try some other things, because if only 3 to 4% are reading those, we can do something that'll be better. We experimented with some really bad stuff now. Remember the popping heads that came into the website? This is like maybe a trend 6 years ago. It's like, hi, welcome to our website. And they'd be there in the corner. You'll find all kinds of things here on the, just really horrible. It's like Justin Timberlake doing a character or something. And so we did all kinds of different things, and we got tons of people to click on that. So we increased the click-through rates by 40, 50%. But at the same time, even though we got people to click on it, we started watching the stats over 3 months, 5 months, 6 months, and over time, the recurring visitor counts were going down like this. So we switched them back out. We put the dated content back in, and the recurring visitor counts went right back up. And so here's what happens. My brain, your brain, when you go to a website, when you see something like this dated content on the front page, your brain is telling you that this entire website is updated all the time, so there must be something here. It's a great way to make sure that we maintain that perception of the freshness of content. The perception of the freshness of content. It doesn't mean that you have to update everything on your website all the time. It means that you have to update something on your front page to show 3 occurrences with the date next to it, so my brain thinks that everything is updated. It's magical what it does for your website in terms of how people perceive what you're doing. And so I highly recommend you consider figuring out a way to add dated content onto the front page of your website a minimum of once per week with at least 3 occurrences showing. Now, again, I mentioned just a moment ago, the number one way to do that is a blog post. The next best way to do that is to have content that you pull together from different parts of your website. Maybe you have articles and things that you've done over the course of the many years you've been around, and you can just highlight something. Just say, hey, remember when. We have one organization that did something like that. Remember when, ... And they just went back and found something from years ago, and they posted it. It was so easy for them to pull that up because it was already there. They just had to come up with a headline and then make a link back to that page in the website. Another way to do that, which is the easiest way out, is to spend a weekend, maybe a couple hours on a weekend actually, going through Quote Garden and those other quote websites, and find 52 inspirational thoughts of the week, ones that jive with your purpose and your mission of your organization, and have that automatically populate every Monday at 8 a.m. Even the most novice web developer can set that up for you. It's really easy. So there are easy ways out. Again, I'm going to share some more deep thoughts with you on how to become a thought leader and how to do blogging. That's part of the workshop later in the day. So if you can get into blogging, that's even better. So these are the 5 elements. Structure, design, content, functionality, vitality. You do these 5 things well, and you will knock it out of the park with your web strategy. And on that, in your book, if you have your laptop with you, you can actually go to a place online and do this online if you'd like. And for those that don't have your laptop with you, no worries. We have it right here in the book for you. And we're going to make it really easy for you to fill it out here. And then when you get back home, or when you get to your computer next, you'll be able to take the information and just plug it in based on what you've written in the book. So on page 7 in the book, there's the website assessment, and the domain is right there at the top, firespring.org/assessment. It's also on the screen here. If you go to that website, just start going through the questionnaire and answering the questions about your own website. And again, if you're in the book here, it's pages 7 through 12. 7 through 12. Just kind of start going through that and just answer the questions. There is a guest network if you want to get online. I think it says guest on it, so you can connect to that wireless network. So go ahead and go through that. If you have questions, just let me know. And for those that didn't get all the way through, don't worry about it. There's plenty of time after the session today. You can dig in and catch up on this stuff. But I want to dig into landing pages a little bit to make sure we stay on track today and talk about why they are so important. I've made several comments today already about the importance of landing pages and how critical they are for nonprofits. Starting with what a landing page is. Who knows who this guy is? Anybody know who that is? No? I'm trying to get a gauge for how many people know a lot about marketing. His name is Seth Godin. Seth Godin. He's the preeminent marketer of our time. He is the most revered marketing person on the planet today in terms of what people know about marketing. Seth Godin has written somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 different books on marketing and how to differentiate yourself. His most famous is called The Purple Cow, which is how to differentiate marketing one from another. But Seth actually was credited with coining the term landing page all the way back in the mid-90s. And a landing page, according to Seth, it's the first page a visitor to your site sees, typically will cause one of 5 different actions. Number 1, it's going to get a visitor to click to your website or someone else's. It'll get them to give, whether that means money or time. It'll get them to give permission for you to follow up. That also includes online registration and things like that. Get a visitor to tell a friend, and the ever more subtle, get a visitor to learn something. These are the 5 elements or the 5 actions that a landing page is going to cause. So think of a landing page as being something that lies between your constituent and you. And then think of that from this perspective. According to Marketing Sherpa, we know that 44% of all the clicks that come into landing pages today, or that come into nonprofit pages, are directed at your home page rather than a relevant landing page. And we want to change that. We want to reverse it because we know that good landing pages are the single most common element among nonprofits who have an amazing web strategy, who knock it out of the park with their web strategy. But only 8% of us have a consistent landing page strategy. So let's talk about what this is. So we talked earlier about all these different people coming to our website, right? We know they come from Facebook, from Google and search engines. You send out an annual appeal letter, your email marketing, your word of mouth through your board, etc., your blog posts, all of these different ways that people find out about you. They're coming to your website. What you want them to do with a landing page is to land on that page first. It's the landing page is part of your website, but it's a page that is oriented to take that visitor when they click and land on your website, that allows them to take one of those 5 actions we just talked about. We want them to be able to do something, to take action on something when they land on the website. So here's the anatomy of a perfect landing page that every nonprofit should be aware of. First of all, at the top, it should be stripped of top-line navigation. It's the single most common element that we screw up. I've seen a lot of landing pages. I'm going to show you a couple dozen examples of landing pages here in just a few minutes from arts organizations all across the United States and what they're doing. So you're going to have a lot of examples to use as in terms of how you want to pull your information together. And nearly all of them have top-line navigation still there. So that's the 5 to 8 menu items, the About Us, the Contact Us, and all those different forums. We want to strip those out on a landing page. You want to make it difficult for people to get somewhere else. You want them to stay on the page once they land there. That's why you strip those out. The most important thing, once we've stripped the top line navigation, is to have a headline, a powerful, engaging headline that absolutely complements the anchor text that brought them there in the first place. And here's what that means. If I'm reading your email message that you sent me, and you say, come to our XYZ event or come to our website and register for our XYZ event, and XYZ event has underlined, it's a link. You click on that link and you land back here. Whatever the link said should match up with what this headline says. So the context between the link that I'm linking from and the headline that's on this landing page, those should match. They should jive with each other. So if you're asking them to come and donate, the link would say, help us out by contributing to our campaign. And the words contributing, the word contributing may be under an underlined hyperlink that I can click on and it will go to your landing page. And when I come to your landing page, this should say, contribute to our campaign, right? So you want to make sure that the link matches the headline, all right? And that's going to make it much more powerful and engaging. It's going to help in so many ways with your search engine optimization as well. We're not going to talk a lot today about SEO, but if you really want to do a great job at being found and people to get to your website, this is something that needs to be part of it. And there should be an image or a video on your website that will grip their attention and bring them in. In an arts organization especially, those images are critical. It's important that we choose an image that's powerful, that's compelling, that's going to capture my attention. A picture will speak 1,000 words, and it's also going to make you 1,000 times more likely to convert somebody into whatever it is that you want them to do by having a powerful and gripping image on here. Yes? So she's saying that it's counterintuitive to strip out the top line navigation. Here's why. This is not your home page. This is not the page where someone's going to when they go to www.yourwebsite.org, whatever your domain name is, to learn more about your organization. They landed on this page for a reason. They landed on this page because you directed them here from a link somewhere. And you want them to do something specific, which is we're getting to here in just a moment, which is about the call to action. You want them to do something when they come to this website. And the more outs you give them, the more ability you give them to go, okay, I'm going to, squirrel, I'm going to go over here. The more different things you get them to click on or look at or go do something else, the more likely that they will not do what it is that you wanted them to do when they came there. You want to bring them here and give them a very specific call to action. I think it'll make more sense when we get all the way through this, and I express the rest of this. The subhead and the text should clearly and quickly describe the reason for taking action on this page. So I've come in, I've seen the headline, I see a powerful image, and this is what's going to convince me that, okay, yep, I probably need to do this. I need to sign up, I need to donate, I need to register, whatever it is. This is going to convince me that I need to do that. And then there's the call to action. This is what everything is all about. Why are they here? Why did you send them to this page? Because you want them to register for whatever it is that you're doing. In this case, register now. Click on the button. It should be very clear, very concise, and very obvious. If I'm landing on this page, what is it that you want me to do? I want you to register now. And the more options you give them to do anything other than register now, the less likely they are to convert. Now, we humans, we're pretty darn smart. If someone wants to get to your front page, they know how to get to your front page. The one thing that I recommend everybody leave active, somewhere on, see this My logo right here? This could be in the upper left, it could be anywhere, but that's your organization's logo. The logo can still be a hot link back to the front page of your website. And who doesn't know, if you've been on a website anywhere in the last 20 years, you know, if you want to go back to the home page, go click on their logo and that'll take you there. But take everything else out. You don't want to give them any other reason to do anything other than make the decision that you brought them there to make in the first place. One other thing that's helpful on landing pages is to build in some kind of credibility, but do it below the fold. Like, are you a member of this organization, this group, that group? You can list all these down here below. And you can also list, for example, testimonials. You know, I attended this event last year and it's the best thing that ever happened to me, whatever. But all of these things right here should be grayed out. You shouldn't put them in color. You don't want to make them stand out too much. And that's also going to say, okay, well, why do you want to do that? That doesn't make sense. I want to make it look beautiful. Well, you want all of the focus to be on this button right here. You want all of the focus to be on what specifically is it that you want them to do. If I want to learn more about this event, or if I want to read testimonials, or I want to go and see, okay, well, they're also a member of this international arts organization in this particular group, to add credibility, it's great to do that, but put it below the line, underneath the call to action, and it should be gray and white, not color. It shouldn't pop out at you. And I'll have a couple examples today that I can share with you that will illustrate that. So this is the anatomy of a perfect landing page, a landing page that is going to get tremendous results for your organization. Now I'm going to go through several of them here in just a moment. But I want to highlight the most important things again. An engaging contextual headline, powerful image or video, limit the navigation, and provide a clear call to action. These are the 4 things that we're looking for. And I'm going to come back and dig into those. Before we jump into that really quickly, I'm going to cover the 5 ways to make your landing page crash. Sometimes it's easier for people to know what not to do than it is to focus on what we should do. Number 1 is too many options. Has anyone ever stood at a gas pump and just got totally lost? What am I supposed to be looking at here? This is a photograph that I took a couple years ago of a gas pump somewhere. I can get a free Coke 12-pack with emissions test. See cashier. Great. I'm going to run right in and do that. Number 2 is too much copy. PBS is an awesome, great organization, but when you come to this landing page, there's just too much going on. I don't know where it is that I'm supposed to focus. Number 3 is no image or video. This is an awesome cause. They wanted you to sign the petition for a letter that they were sending to Congress to save sea turtles. And what's missing here? The sea turtles. I want to see a compelling image of a turtle in crisis, that needs my help, that I can go and pull out of this net and rescue. And I want to feel compelled to do that, and I don't get that sense when there's no photograph. Asking for too many details. This forum just gets me every time. I found this and I have to use it because it's, we're trained, right? We're trained that if it's an asterisk or red text, then it's required. That's what we all think. So they made all the text red. So they want my middle name and my pager number in order for me to fill this form out. I probably don't have my pager on me anymore. But they want everything here. It's just asking for way too many details. Ask for as little as you possibly can in order to get the basic information you need to be able to fulfill whatever it is that, once they sign up or register, what's the minimum amount of information you need? Don't ask for any more than that. And an unclear call to action. This one started out great. Look, they had this working together to end poverty and justice, joined, awesome, but then boom, shop, donate, learn more. What is it they want me to do? They've got 4 different things they're asking me to do here. Focus on just one. All right, so let's jump into some of these. I'm going to go through these and let you kind of help share with me which ones of these work. And by the way, you'll have all of these in the handout. We'll send these to you so you can look at these on your own time. Again, the things we're looking for: engaging contextual headline, a powerful image or video, limit navigation, and provide a clear call to action. Here's the first one: the Arts Council of Santa Cruz County. How does this one look? This is a landing page. Kind of busy, I would agree. It's cut off a little bit here. They've got a simple one, click here to find out how. That's not a bad call to action, but it kind of gets lost, doesn't it? You usually aren't looking for the call to action in the lower left. I usually would look for that maybe in the lower right. Yeah, and almost all of these you're going to see will still have all kinds. This one strips out all but 2, so that's pretty darn good. This is probably the best we're going to see in top-line navigation. This one is from the Keep the Arts in Public Schools. Yeah, I'd say their call to action is really small down here. The support button, you kind of don't even see it. That's a really great question. It's not well branded. I don't know who that is either. It's Keep the Arts in Public Schools. When you look at it, it looks like the title of the organization. It's Arts Education Advocacy. Yeah. It's not clear, is it? You don't really get it. Here's one called Arts Party. It's pretty blocky. I'm not crazy about all the blockiness. And yeah, look at how many things. There's no image. There's no compelling image. It does not look like a party. That's a really good point. And they're saying get the newsletter and sign up, but they've got all these other things they want you to do as well. Then over on the side, you can get the email, you can join. What's the difference between those two things, I wonder? Very confusing. The Hillier Art Space. This is a landing page for donations. Again, they have all their top line navigation there. They need to get rid of those things. Too much text, I would agree. For an art space, there's an awful lot of text. And the donate button doesn't really have a good lead in. Here's one from the Museum of Contemporary Art in Santa Barbara. It's their Become a Member page. Again, they've got too much top-line navigation. This is not bad. It's simple and straightforward. You might want to have a little supporting information about what, although they're really going for simplicity. But you can do that in a sentence. You don't have to, or in a few words even. You don't have to do it in a paragraph. It's a great question. Landing pages can definitely live in your website, and many of them, I would say 80% of landing pages, you can navigate to from your website. So like in this case, if you want to be a member, when you're on the front page and you click on learn more about being a member, it's going to take me to this page. But some landing pages, maybe 20%, are going to be things that you can get to only by clicking on them from somewhere else, from an email that you've sent out. So they hide. Yes, they're on your website, but they're not clickable from the front page. They're there. It's just like the thing that I shared with you earlier, the assessment tool. We don't have that available on our website. You can't go to our website and click to it and find it. But by just going to the domain that I gave you incorrectly, firespring.org/assessment, if you go to that, you can get right to it. It's a landing page. It lives on our website, even though the only way to get to it is by knowing how to get to it. And so landing pages can work one or the other way. Most of them are pages that you're going to be able to navigate, like donate, register for, sign up for, learn more. Most of them are going to be things that come through your website. We'll go here and then here.
What would be the reason for not making them discoverable?
So you could have things like for your board of directors, for example. Like you're doing a special event for your board. You don't want that from your front page. So you have a special reception for your board that's coming up and you want to put a landing page and get your board members to come there and register. That would be an example. Maybe you have a special class or service or a service that you do in the community that's not publicly available and you want other people to know. There are all kinds of things you can do that are more private or specific to a subgroup that you want them to be able to get to that you wouldn't make publicly accessible on your website.
Is that also for tracking purposes, like say you're doing direct marketing and you want to know where that referral came from, then you can use the landing page?
Yeah, landing pages are tremendously helpful when it comes to analytics and understanding your traffic and where people are coming from. Your goal with analytics is to really break down and get, if you land on this page, your goal should be to get them to convert, to do whatever it is that they came there to do, whatever it is that you sent them there to learn about. Your goal should be to get as many as possible to convert. And people say, well, what should be the goal, the conversion goal? Well, it depends. If it's your board of directors thing that I just talked about, you know, you're going to want 80% or more of your board to RSVP and say, yep, I'm going to come to this special event you're having just for us. If you have an activity in the community and you want to get 10,000 people there, and there's 500,000 people in the community, you may have a 1% conversion goal. You want to get you want 1% of everyone that lands on this page to convert. So it can go all over the board. There's no right answer what number should convert. It depends on the event, and it depends on the organization, and it depends on the audience that you're connecting with for that particular goal. The Arts Council of Napa Valley. Pretty boring, right? Yeah, no graphic, no nothing. Transformative time and space for artists. This is the Illinois American Institute of Architects. They're asking for donations, and again, but they're also asking you to volunteer, and they've also got all kinds of other things in here.
For that last one to look good, you want to have 4 separate landing pages?
Yes, for this one to work properly, I would want a separate landing page for volunteer, a separate one for donate. I don't know that you need one for Inside 12. I don't know what that is. It may or may not warrant a landing page. The alumni campaign should certainly have its own landing page specifically for alumni, and it should cater to me as an alumni member. It should be really focused on the alumni, not on whatever else it's focused on. So absolutely, these should all be split off into separate pages. Artist membership. You can see their call to action is way up there. Get our newsletter in the upper right-hand corner. I would have never spotted that had, and I didn't pull these together. I had an assistant go through and pull this together, and I saw this, and I thought that's not a landing page, and then I saw that, oh wow, I guess it is. The Batesville Area Arts Council. Again, their call to action is way at the top. They've got all of their top line navigation. It does. The thing that makes it a landing page is the ability for them to take action on the page. A landing page, by definition, is a page that allows you to land on it and take action on something. So if you have the ability to become a member today by clicking on this button, that makes it a landing page. You get to a landing page by a marketing campaign that you're conducting. Someone on your team is sending out an email newsletter, perhaps, that has a link, say, learn more about, let me see if I can get to another example here. So like California Arts Council, you would get to this page through an email marketing campaign that the California Arts Council comes up with and sends out to all their constituents, the people that support them, asking them to come learn more about how they can support the California Arts Council. And again, they have 4 different options down here. So a lot of the landing pages that I'm sharing with you now are things that are truly things that are not being marketed outside. In other words, you're navigating to them through the website. A lot of the ones that we're sharing with you today.
Create a landing page to put into your emails that you're going to send out.
Yes. Well, if there's anything, if you have an event that's coming up, you should have it should have its own landing page. If you have a particular capital campaign that's oriented on raising money for this particular cause or purpose, it should have its own landing page. The example that was just there, if you're appealing to alumni in a campaign and you want the alumni to support, they should have their own landing page. If you've got something over here where you've got a new email marketing program and you're trying to get people to sign up and register for your news and the really exciting things you're going to be sharing, that's a separate landing page. All of those are separate landing pages, and you can promote them differently. You can make them accessible through the navigation of your website. That's okay to do that, so that if I click on a button, sign up for your email newsletter, click here, and it takes me to the landing page that allows me to do that. That's okay. But the vast majority of us are splitting these off, and we're promoting them by sending out email marketing pieces, or we have an appeal letter that goes in the mail, and we might set up a domain like the example that I did earlier with the assessment, even though I got it wrong. It might say, firespring.org/assessment. So you might say yourorganization.org/donate. And that goes in the letter that goes out to 1,000 constituents, and that's where you want them to go. So you guide them to the place where you want them to go. Here's the Art of Elysium. It's a nice graphic. I like the graphic. I like the sponsor a program message. The Donate Now button I think would be better under here. And again, a lot of these are forgetting the secondary call to action, which are the bullet points, the supporting argument to make it necessary for me to understand. Yeah, there's a lot there, an awful lot there. Become a member. This one is donate, support the Society of Singers. So they're asking you for their support, but then they're also giving you links to send you off to do something else. Not very well done. The Arts Council of Indianapolis. They do a decent job with getting stuff out there. Who can tell me on this one, the Seal Gallery? I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. They've got all this top-line navigation that doesn't belong there, and they've got their contact form. The graphic is not really sized properly compared to the contact form for it to be good. But who can tell me about this call to action? Does that inspire you to take action? That is the absolute worst call to action that anyone can have. Yes. If you do not use the call to action, submit. If you're not engaged to Christian Grey or someone like that, that's not a word that you want to be messing with. The word submit is the world's worst call to action, and there's really no reason why you should ever use it. So abolish the word submit from all of your calls to action when you get back home. And speaking of submit, here's one right here. Stand for the arts. Here's the pledge. So, what's a better call word or a better call to action than submit? Take the pledge, or the pledge, or pledge. I pledge, whatever, anything but submit. But it's a much better call to action. Here's one that is a little fancier. When you scroll over this live and you go through these different elements on the screen, a different photograph and name will pop up. It's kind of cool. But I think the coolness of it, I think they get lost a little bit in Join the Family. The call to action gets kind of lost in the coolness of the page itself. Seattle Opera, become an opera star. You can sign up, or you can listen now, or you can do all of those different things. You'll see that the biggest problem that most arts organizations have when we go and look for these is they're trying to do too much. They're trying to do everything on one page. So we're not going to make that mistake. I'm going to give you a few examples with extraordinary conversion. These are not from the arts, but I happen to know the results behind these pages, and so I'll give you a few examples. This is an organization called Wistia that makes a video platform that's an alternative to YouTube. So organizations and companies that want to post videos and not use YouTube. They had more than 1 million people actually click on this Start Watching button in this campaign when they started running it in about a 3-month time period. When they released this landing page, and it was sent out through email marketing, people that had expressed interest in Wistia at some point in the past, and they sent out an email marketing message to come learn more about how Wistia makes it easier for you to host video, and people clicked on the link, they landed on this page, they typed in their email address, and they started watching. It was incredibly effective. Another one, It's a friend of mine who wrote this book, The Starter Guide to Nonprofit Video Storytelling. And pretty simple. It's kind of washed out on the screen. It looks a little better on your computer screen when you see it. But it just asks for first name, last name, email. That's it. Just 3 things. It's normally $19, and he said get the free ebook. He had about 30,000 people click on that in a matter of 6 months when he launched this book. It is really, really effective. And here's one that just uses instead of a photo or a graphic, it uses a treatment of text. Join the global food revolution. They're just asking for name, email, and zip code. I know the people that run this organization, they had a goal to get to 275,000 people signing their petition in a year, and they did it in 7 months. And at the time that I took this screenshot, they were at 268,000 already. Again, it's simple. You get here, it feels like, okay, I can fill this out pretty quickly. It looks really easy. I can sign the petition. So the trick is to getting people to click. I also wanted you to know you can do things on Facebook as well. Not paying attention to the message, obviously. I'm giving you an example from Planned Parenthood, who does a really good job on Facebook by putting landing pages into Facebook. No Kid Hungry does the same thing. If you're going to Facebook and your little tabs, you can create and build landing pages right in Facebook that give people the ability to plug in information and take action. So it's not just on your website. The most important thing with all of this is that when you send people through a landing page, and this is why we want to do this, and they land on a landing page, instead of going directly to your home page and then having to fend for themselves to go find what they're looking for, to donate or to volunteer, whatever, you will increase conversions up to 10 times more with those visitors than you will with people that land on your home page. In other words, you send out an email marketing piece. It says, come to our website and donate to our organization, whatever your message is. If they land on a landing page, they're 10 times more likely going to donate than if you send them to your home page and then make them find where the donation button is once they're there. It's huge. It's a massive shift in how we can impact the visitors that come to our website. Become a member, donate to our general fund, sponsor an exhibit, donate a good or service, support an artist, sign our petition, take the pledge, sign up for our insider-only email list, sign up to volunteer, register for our event, buy tickets, connect with us on Facebook, apply to join our team, come work for us. These are all examples of things you can do with landing pages. And with that, we're going to open the book. There are 2 open sheets in that book. And they're on pages 16 and 17. And then back on page 15, you can see the example of the perfect landing page. And I'm going to put this back up on the screen here. These are some ideas on landing pages. Sketch out a landing page for your organization. You can do either 1 or 2. We're going to take about 10 minutes total, including a break here. So take whatever time you can. But go ahead and sketch out a landing page. And again, on page 15, you can see the example of how to build a perfect landing page. So go on ahead and start building your perfect page. I think if you can just go back this afternoon, tomorrow, at some point this week, and work on getting a landing page, maybe the one you designed today, implemented in your strategy, you're going to find a really remarkable difference in your ability to hone in on what it is that you want people to do when they come to your website. Because just the first one starts that process of really starting to figure out, okay, what can we do to maximize our efficiency as an organization and getting people to take action on whatever it is that we want them to take action on. You start to think differently about how you do everything. Getting that first one done will start a wave. Most organizations that we work with at Firespring, we recommend you have a minimum of 5 landing pages. Minimum of 5. So if you have the ability to, say, opt into an email marketing piece, that's 1. You have 1 or 2 events a year, there's 2 and 3. You have a general donation page, there's 4. And then what's your specific thing in your organization? Find out a really good one. Every organization should have at least 5 landing pages. And by really focusing in on getting people to take action when they come there, it will make a difference in terms of how you convert and how much action your supporters will take. All right, we're going to dig into becoming a thought leader, the 3 keys to becoming a thought leader to start us off with. And number 1 is to commit to creating and posting great content. Content is anything that adds value to the life of the reader. If someone is coming to your website and they're going to learn something from you, we want them to feel like what you've just shared with them adds value. So this is at the fundamental basis of becoming a thought leader. A thought leader in your community means this. It means if somebody is standing around, say a water cooler at work, and they're having a conversation, or maybe they're in line at Starbucks and they're having a conversation, and whatever your organization does for the community, whatever your purpose is, something comes up in that conversation, and they're talking about it, the very next thing out of their mind or out of their voice should be, I wonder what XYZ organization thinks about that, or I wonder what they say about that. And you want them to go sit down at their computer or their smartphone, whatever, and Google your organization to find out what your perspective is on that issue. That's what a thought leader is. A thought leader is an organization and people from the organization, could be one or both, who are creating awareness and education and value around that topic so that when the issue comes up in the community, they instantly think of you. And that's what we all want to be at. And you start that process by committing to and creating and posting great content. So let me ask you this question. Which of these two headlines is most compelling? This one, 3 reasons why you should give money to Jay's Place for the Arts, or 3 things that happen to your brain when you look at art. Yeah. Number 2, by far it's more compelling. And this is the single biggest mistake that we find nonprofits making, is they're making it about themselves. They're making it about the organization. Instead, share information that makes it compelling and interesting to the end user, to the audience, and you will create a fascinating connection that people have with your organization and the information that you can share with them. So the second part of this is maintaining that. Once you have the great content, you need to be comfortable being the role of the established expert. You and other folks from your organization need to be considered the experts in whatever, again, your organization does in the community. Be the established expert, not just on your blog, but in other ways as well. Maybe you can offer to do lunch and learns for companies and corporate events. We do those at Firespring. We have people come in once a month. We have a lunch and learn, and we're always looking for somebody who's willing to come in and share in a half an hour over lunch and learn their story, or to teach us something. We just had a sushi making class last month. And the owner of a local sushi restaurant came in. We paid for the materials, of course, but he brought in and taught everybody how to make sushi, and our employees absolutely loved it. And guess where they're going to be going the next time they go out for dinner? They're absolutely going to this place. So being the established expert in so many different ways in the community goes well beyond just what you're posting on your website. It goes much deeper than that. It's what you're doing in the community in general. And number 3 is to inspire action. We just spent a good 40 minutes talking about how to get people to take action when they land on your website. Your content should inspire people to take action, not necessarily with you. I'm not talking about getting them to come to one of your landing pages and take action. We're talking about inspiring them to take action on the issue that you're focused on. So I'm going to share with you several different organizations that do a great job with thought leadership in their community. I'm going to buzz through these pretty quickly and remind you that you'll have copies of all of these at the end of the session, so you can go and take some more time with them when you have a moment. This is, again, the Walters Art Museum in Baltimore, Maryland. So this is their main presence, their website presence. I'm going to share with you their Twitter page here. You'll see that they have 155,000 followers on Twitter, an organization that obviously gets it when it comes to Twitter and that is sharing great information. It's like, for example, what will your children discover at summer camp at the Walters? Art of the day, sketches of hands and antlers, prowling panther, etc. So they're posting photographs and compelling content on a regular basis that are getting people that are interested in what they're doing pulled in. In their Facebook page, they have a substantial number of likes. They have over close to 15,000 now. And they're constantly posting information and sharing information that is valuable to the audience that's interested to know more about what they're doing. You can see here their subscription, where you can come in and subscribe to their mailing list. which is a very active mailing list. They have lots of video on Vimeo. Again, there are several alternatives to YouTube if you don't want to post your stuff out on YouTube. You can use Vimeo, you can use Wistia. There are several different solutions that make it a little easier for you to post video. They cost money. The value difference is YouTube is free, and you don't have to pay anything for it. With the other services, you have to pay a little bit, but you can put the video right on your website. You don't have to have them go off to YouTube to see it. The way Wistia and Vimeo both work is it allows you to anchor the videos right in your website so that they can watch it right there. You can also do that in YouTube if you have the right plugins, and you can figure out how to do that. But you can still, the end user will always have the option to click on the YouTube icon and go off of your website if they choose to. But this allows you to self-contain it. They also have a big Instagram. They have 666, I don't know, that's an evil number, followers, and they have a really great arsenal of photographs and iconic images in Instagram that's really kind of cool. And then they have a Pinterest account as well. They have 18 different boards in Pinterest. They have one on baubles, art we like, conserving the past, and then they have all kinds of things. Is anyone using Pinterest out here today? We have several, okay? So they have gone all across the mediums, and they do a great job with thought leadership across all these different elements. The Theater Communications Group in New York City. Here's another example, a best practice of a thought leader in their community. This is their website. You can see they have dated content on their front page. They've got a great Twitter page and following. Again, they use a lot of photographs. Here's one filming Frank Chin for our Legacy Leaders of Color Photo Video Project, and it's the photographs that really pop out on Twitter. In Facebook, they have a very active page. They have 19,000 people on their page, and they're constantly posting information out here. The Brooklyn Museum in Brooklyn, New York, also has a really good thought leadership strategy where they are out here engaged in so many different ways. This is their, in the blogosphere, the community/blogosphere. This is their blog. And their blog is set up in a way that makes it really easy for me to choose the content that I'm most interested in digging into. On Facebook, they have 164,000 people that have connected with them out here on Facebook. And there's constantly posting new photographs and connections. On Twitter, 526,000 followers on Twitter. And you can see, if we go back, here's Facebook and here's Twitter. You can see that same image at the time that I took this screenshot is the top of both. So they're consistently aligning the conversation that they're creating in all different mediums. And you can see the same photograph right here on their Instagram account. And they have a lot of Instagram. They have 105,000 followers on Instagram. And then their Tumblr account. This is kind of an active, in Tumblr, it's not so much about blogging, although that's part of what you're doing there, but you're also sharing information from other people's Tumblr. That's what you do in Tumblr, is you go out and you say, I like that, click on it, and it kind of gets added to your stream. So people that are engaged in Tumblr and are really active in that community, it's a way for people to see what you're interested in, basically. It works very similar to Pinterest and other things. YouTube, they have a huge YouTube channel. They have lots and lots of videos and a great video strategy on YouTube. And then here's the one that I think wins the prize in my mind, just from the diversity of what they're doing out there. It's an organization called On the Boards in Seattle. It's an organization that really gets multimedia. They have their own TV channel that they've created. On Facebook, they're constantly engaged with their audience, and there are people coming to their Facebook page to connect with them. You'll notice again, I'm going to click back again, there's Facebook, there's Twitter. Their image is similar. They have the same header, which they update once every week. Every week they put a new header on Facebook and on Twitter that matches, and then they put a different feature up the following week. So it's constantly in alignment, but constantly changing. And then on Instagram, you can see that they have 216. They're newer to Instagram, and they're growing their following here. They have their own YouTube channel. And as I said, they also have their own television channel, which they link to all the time on their Tumblr account. where they're focused on things. And so this is their ontheboards.tv. And it's really interesting. What they do is they share visual art with people, and they film it and they share it with the world through this TV account. And they've gained followers, connection, and now supporters all over the world, not just in Seattle, even though that's where they're based. So some really good examples. The one thing that I want you to really think about with thought leadership is not a campaign. It's not something that you really think about, okay, well, we need to do this for a while to become a thought leader. Thought leadership is a commitment. It's an ongoing commitment to making sure that you're engaged in the community and posting content and staying out there as a thought leader. It takes a lot of work. It's not for everybody. In fact, statistics show that out of this room today, that maybe one or two of you may take this thought leadership thing and do something with it that's really substantial. The payoff is gargantuan if you can figure out how to get there. The payoff is that your supporter base grows exponentially, and that you have the ability to basically create awareness of your organization across the geographical borders where you're currently located. The thought leaders in any one of these areas are the people that really figure out a way to extend their purpose outside of their immediately available neighborhood or geographic area, depending on where they're based. There's a lot of opportunity there. And it's very closely tied to the concept of blogging. Has there anyone here that's ever blogged? Just raise your hand for me. We have 4 people that have tried it. All right. So to blog or not to blog, who should be a blogger? Let me ask this question. Raise your hand for me if, when you were in high school and or college, you loved writing classes, and writing, the English composition and writing was your thing. Now keep your hand up for me for a moment. Also raise your hand if you've ever journaled or kept a diary, even if just for personal use. Raise your hand. Okay, the people with their hands up, you guys are potential bloggers. Potential bloggers. Those who didn't raise their hand, please don't even try. And I mean that with sincerity. You're going to do nothing but just irk off the people around you. You're going to bang your head against the wall in frustration because you just don't love to write. If you don't love to write, don't try to be a blogger. Even if the people around you say, you're the executive director, you need to be a blogger, or you're this or that, or you need to be a blogger. That doesn't matter. In every organization, we've spent a lot of time working with organizations and studying this across the country in terms of organizations that really do a great job with blogging. And in every instance, the people that are knocking it out of the park are naturally born to write. They're naturally wired that way. It wasn't something they had to learn to do it. And I am personally not a big believer in ghost blogging, where, like, say, an executive director will hire somebody to write their articles for them. It feels very disingenuous to me. Unless it's very clear that this is your idea, you're sitting down with somebody and you're spilling out your ideas, and they're writing it kind of like a journalist would write about that. I've seen some of those that work really well, and it's a very different type of blog. It would be where you bring somebody in over lunch for maybe a 15-minute period and say, okay, the topic that I'm really interested in this week is XYZ, and they interview you on that topic. They go and write an article, but it's got their name on it and your name, and it's clear that that's what's happening. That works for me. But having them write it as if it were you writing it feels wrong to me, and so I don't recommend that. But you can do that. I know a lot of people that do ghost blogging, and it works for their organization. Certainly you can do that. Yes?
So Jay, I'm not a big writer. I don't really like writing, but I blog. I blog visually. I create photographs. I'm able to communicate that way through, instead of words, I have visuals and a little bit of text. Now we're doing the same thing with the Arts Council. This will be a blog post, a little bit about what we did today, the program, and coming to speak, and then the video. I think that's pretty good.
That's a great example.
I
I agree with that strategy completely. If you can, the more visual, especially in the arts, the more visual you can make your blogs, the more likely people will engage and interact with the content that you're sharing, without question. Especially in the world of the arts. If you have a way to make more visual elements in your blogs, the better, without question. I'm going to share with you the 7 components of the best nonprofit blogs. I've worked with so many nonprofit organizations over the course of my lifetime that started blogging and that gave up, that stopped, because they got burned out or just wasn't working, or it didn't seem like they were getting anything in return, because nobody would ever read them and nobody would click on them. And so I'm going to share with you the 7 components of how to really get over that. Number 1 on the list is every blog, whether it's visual or written, is going to tell a great story. Every blog is going to tell a great story. Telling stories is one of the most talked about things in the internet in the nonprofit community today. If you go to sites like Nonprofit Hub, which is a hub of information and content, about probably 5% of all the content that I've seen come through there in the last year is about storytelling, how critical storytelling is to nonprofits. We need to tell a story in order to be effective. Number 2, they should encourage constituent participation. They should connect with the audience in a way that wants the audience to get involved and connect with the organization. Number 3, they should express gratitude. This is a huge one in my mind. I don't know if any of you have read the study. There's a study came out of Scandinavia. It's been 3 years ago now. They wrote about it in Time magazine. This researcher did a tremendous amount of work on trying to understand the secret to happiness. This elusive thing that has been written about and talked about and discussed ad nauseum over since the beginning of man. The secret to happiness, and what these researchers concluded was the secret to happiness all came down to one thing, and this is it: the expression of gratitude. They put these people through these studies where they took these angry people, the ones that cut you off in traffic and didn't let you in, and that get upset with waiters and waitresses all the time. These angry people that we all come across in our world, and they had them go through an experiment where 10 times, and they had to track it over the course of a day, 10 times during a day, they had to express gratitude to someone for something. Whether it was the waitress or the waiter or the car that wanted into traffic, express gratitude 10 times, and they had to write it down. At the end of that experiment, at the end of that week, these people were transformed. It completely transformed them, just the expression of gratitude. And I'm on a tangent here, but there's absolutely parallels between how you use a blog and how we express gratitude in life. If your blog posts are focused on expressing gratitude, it will strike a chord with people that makes it feel like, wow, there's a lot of positive energy happening here in this blog, and they're more likely to connect with it. Number 4, they go evergreen. What does it mean to go evergreen? Evergreen is content that lasts. In other words, let's say I post a blog post today about ditch the boring, 5 tips for running an effective nonprofit board meeting. That's the article. Is that article going to be relevant to the audience who reads it a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now? Yeah, it's like timeless. That's what evergreen means. Evergreen means that the content is essentially timeless. And you want to make sure that when you're blogging, about 1 out of every 8 to 10 of your articles at minimum has evergreen components to it, meaning that it's timeless information that's going to be just as relevant a year or 2 or 3 from now than it is today. So there are some things that we blog about that are very timely, where there's an event coming up. There's a process that we're working on right now in the community to make a change in this issue or that issue. Those are timely elements. Occasionally you want to blog about timeless content that people will resonate with people regardless of whether they read it today or 3 years from today. Does that make sense to everybody? Just make sure you really think about what kind of content you can do for evergreen content. Number 5, they are well edited. Every blog post that's ever created should always be seen by another set of eyes before it's posted. It's just good practice. And I'll give you some advice on how to facilitate that when we talk about how to build a blogging team here in a moment. And number 6, they get to the point. There's this misperception out there that a good blog post has to be several paragraphs or long form content. And it is absolutely the opposite. I can show you studies that show the length of the blog post compared to the number of people who will read it, and they're directly in proportional to one another. The shorter the post, the more likely people will read it. Now, you can also argue, well, there are some things that you have to have more content for. You've got all kinds of really great information to share. It needs to be a little more long form. That's okay. It's absolutely okay to do that if the content merits it. But again, that should be no more than 1 out of every 3 to 4 blog posts. If you're blogging once a week on average, which is a good guideline, by the way, which we'll get to, if you're blogging once a week, then maybe 1 of those posts a month should be long form at the most. You don't want to have every post you make long form, unless you're very specifically in a blogging post where your main purpose is education. If you're educating or sharing information and that information is really, and what you're doing is you're building this arsenal of educational content, it's okay to go longer in that scenario. But for most of us in the arts, we want to make sure that our blog posts are a paragraph or 2 at the most. Do not get caught up in this thing that, well, it's got to be, for it to be, serious, or for anybody to take this seriously, it needs to be long. It does not. Number 7, they are produced by a team. The single most evident component of blogs in the nonprofit sector that are successful are blogs that are not produced by one person. Although I can give you lots of examples of that, of people, of like one person who's been really great at blogging. By far, the ones that have sustained the longest, that have gone 2, 3, 4 years and still going, are team blogs. Rather than one person who burns out because I just don't have it in me anymore to keep it going. I can't tell you how many of my friends that I've known that were bloggers in the past that have given it up because they felt too much pressure. There was so much. They just stopped doing it over time because it wasn't worth it anymore. But maintaining a team blog is incredibly effective and successful. And I'm going to share that with you, the 5 steps to putting a team blog together. Number 1, you find 5 people, maybe 4, maybe 6, 5 people who are willing to get involved in your organization and help by writing 1 blog post a week. That's what you're looking for. These are people that are naturally born to write. And don't give me the, well, we're tiny, there's only 2 of us in our organization. It's not you that I'm talking about. The organization, every organization that does well with this invokes people from all different walks of life. These are donors, volunteers, people that are serving on their board. The blogging team doesn't need to be people that are employed by your organization. They just need to be people that support your organization. They can even be constituents that you serve. I know several of those that sit on blogging teams in successful organizations. And when you pull the team together and you get people that are naturally born to write, people that are wired to write, you're going to have a really dynamic group of people. In fact, it's better if they're not all employed by your organization. In any case, find 4 to 6 people to serve as your blogging team, and then you sit down with that team and you talk about, okay, here's the theme that we want our blog to accomplish. Talk through it. What is it? Look at your mission statement. Talk about all the different strategies that you're thinking about, and collectively as a group, decide what is the theme and mission of this blog going to be. What is it that we want to blog about? What do we want to write about? What do we want to connect with our community about? And then start brainstorming topics. So the topics can be, okay, let's do at least a couple impact stories every month where we go out and we interview someone in the community that's affected by our organization and get their take on how we've impacted them. So starting with that. Maybe you want to do topics on some kind of interactive element in terms of how we interact with people that are interacting with our space. And again, it's so dependent upon what your organization is, but come up with several different ideas on what you can do to brainstorm topics and just kind of throw them all up on the board and then divide and conquer. Pretty simple. All right, you take this one, you take this one, you take this one. Okay, so for the next month, you've each got one idea, one concept that you're going to work out, and that's your job. And the first one needs to be done on Monday, and the next one on the following Monday, and the next one on the following Monday, et cetera. So everybody knows their time slot and they know their topic, right? It's pretty simple. And then you meet with that group, pull together. I know people that do this on Skype, they do it online, whatever. Others will meet at the local Panera and just, kind of buy your own lunch, sit down, let's talk about it. And you repeat steps 3 and 4, meaning that you're going to brainstorm the topics, and then you're going to divide and conquer. You just keep going through that process month after month after month. It's incredibly effective if you do this. I've listed for you in the handout that you're going to get here several examples of great nonprofit blogs that you can go and read and see how these other organizations are absolutely crushing it. And nearly all of these that we were able to ascertain, I haven't been able to connect with all of them, but I know that nearly all of them are team blogs, people that come together from across the organization. One last thing on blogging before we move on that I want to make sure I touch on is where to put the blog and where to host the blog. The number one way to create a blog in your organization is to have the blog reside on your website. It's best because it optimizes your website for search. It optimizes the content on your website. It makes your website feel more vital, so from a vitality perspective and from a content perspective on your website, it fills two of the 5 elements, and it really caters to them really nicely. So your website should be the home of your blog. It should live there. Now you can do that in many different ways. You can build out your blog in WordPress, and then you can essentially plug the blog into your website so that you're accessing it through the website, but it's hosted out in WordPress. And it's pretty simple for a web developer, again, pretty much any caliber to figure out how to make sure your blog is built in and that shows up on the front page of your website. And so, the 3 occurrences, and then be able to click in and read the articles. It will ultimately send them off to WordPress if they want to dig into the archives and go look at old articles, but it's going to live on your home page on your website. That's the best place for your blog to live. If you're not using WordPress, that's absolutely fine. Use a tool that makes it possible for you to just add the blog posts and to post the date with dated content like we talked about earlier, minimum of 3 occurrences, so that you can constantly see that everything's being updated here. So just make sure that when you do find your blogging strategy and you want to get your blogging legs under you, the blog should live on your website. It shouldn't live somewhere else and people shouldn't be led away to go read it over there. They should be able to come to your website and read it there. That's the purpose of becoming a thought leader in blogging, is to get people to your website and to impress them with all the things that you're doing in the community, and to impress upon them how you can help them with your cause, your purpose, your mission as an arts organization. Yes?
With the physical location of the blog, I know WordPress.com, WordPress.org. One of them allows you to post the actual pages on the WordPress site. The WordPress.org allows you to basically download the whole blog, guts, if you will, put them in a folder on your website. You're not necessarily talking about that, but rather have pages viewable on your website.
Yeah, again, the important thing, if you are using WordPress as your blogging platform, if that's the platform you're using for your blog, the important thing is, bottom line is that when people come to your website, they can view your blog from your website, and you want to make sure that that is where you're directing them to view your blog. You don't want to direct them to your WordPress subdomain. The embedded code that puts the blog in, or if you're just basically showing them headlines, it doesn't matter which way you go about that, as long as that's where you're directing them when they come. The most important thing is that they come to your website to connect with your blog. Let's talk a little bit about social media. All right, how many people here have a Facebook page? Pretty much everybody. How about Twitter? Maybe about half. LinkedIn? People trying on LinkedIn? Okay, I'm going to change your paradigm on these things a little bit as we move forward today. I think the single most important thing for a nonprofit organization today, especially executives in nonprofits, is LinkedIn today. I'm going to explain why. I'm going to share with you why that's helpful, and why Facebook and Twitter are important, but they're not the most critical. All right, so let's dig into this. And there's also Instagram and Pinterest. How many Instagram users do we have? Just a couple Instagram. How about Pinterest? A lot more in Pinterest. Okay, Pinterest it's funny. It's 70% women who use Pinterest. And that would be reflected by this group. But Instagram is the one that a lot of arts organizations have really started to use a lot more. We see more arts organizations using Instagram than any technology outside of Facebook right now. It's the one that seems to have the most favor among arts organizations because it's so visual. It's just about posting a photograph with a headline, basically. It's a form of, if you want to call it that, visual blogging, because it's just basically visual and with a tag or headline. So the social media that nonprofits should care about today, for the most part, with the exception of some aspects of Instagram, would be Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And I'm sharing with you here, when you get this copy, Pinterest and Instagram, several different topics. So you can click on these links and get some really fabulous resources of how other nonprofit organizations are using Pinterest and how they're using Instagram in really cool ways. I wanted you to have those resources available, so you know where you'll find those now, but I'm going to focus in a little bit on Facebook first. So Facebook is obvious. You know, there are more than 1 billion people using it on a daily basis now. And this has been going on for several years now, where we've known that Facebook is where everyone is hanging out. But it's a little bit misleading to say that Facebook is where we need to be hanging out. So I asked the question, is Facebook overhyped? Who thinks it's overhyped? Okay, several of you. Well, I would say that my opinion, this is all subjective, of course, my opinion is that those of you that just raise your hand are right. Facebook is overhyped. In fact, I can share with you that Facebook superstars, the ones who really knock it out of the park, are typically one of two things. They're either a national or international organization, meaning that their reach goes way outside of their geographic region, or they're naturally wired for engagement. What does that mean? Well, naturally wired for engagement means that if you deal with animals or children, you're naturally wired for engagement. People talk about it. People want to engage in it and have conversations online. Look where the arts falls down here at the bottom, 3%. It's not, but let me back up for a moment, because arts crosses over everything, though. There are arts that focus on human rights. There are arts that focus on children. There are arts that focus on animals. So you can fall into other categories too, but as a category in and of itself, arts falls down here at 3%. So here's the point. When you go to Facebook, when I go to Facebook, when we go to Facebook, we're probably going there for different reasons than to connect with an arts organization. We're going to Facebook because a guy we went to high school or college with connected with us, and we want to see what they're up to, or our family, and kind of see what they're up to. It's about family and very close personal friends. That's why we're on Facebook. The average, let me back up for a second. 2% of us, only 2% of us, have ever gone on to a nonprofit organization other than our own and engaged in any kind of meaningful conversation on Facebook. Only 2%. It's a little tiny blip of the number of people who are on Facebook that actually go to an arts or any other nonprofit organization's Facebook page to engage with them on that Facebook page. That's not how we use Facebook. Now, it might show up in our feed somewhere that this organization is having an event, and that's useful. We need to be on Facebook for those purposes, for when we have the ability for people to connect and it shows up in the feed. But don't expect them to come to your website and engage in conversation with you on your wall. I've talked to so many organizations that get so frustrated with this because they're told by these so-called experts, these social media professionals will come in and say, okay, if you want to be good at social media, what you have to do is you have to engage with people on their wall. Get a conversation going on your wall in Facebook, and you'll see that it will light up. It'll bring so many people there. So we go out and we post a photograph and a comment, and we start a conversation. We post a question. And then what happens? No. She's absolutely right. Nothing. No one goes to your Facebook wall you're not going to, so what happens is a day or two or three go by, nothing has happened. Nobody's commented. So sooner or later your sister feels sorry for you and logs in and will say something because you told her that, I posted this and no one's saying anything. This is what happens to the majority of us. Don't let that frustrate you. It's okay. You're not alone. This is the way it is in the vast majority of nonprofits. There are very rare exceptions, very rare outliers that have massive success on Facebook in terms of building that kind of community on Facebook. So don't let that affect you too much if you're not. But Facebook is kind of like Yellow Pages were 20 years ago for a business. You have to be there. It's not an option to not be on it. You have to be in there because people find you through Facebook. They will search there. It's more of a search engine now than anything else. And then you want them to be able to connect with you and go to your website as quickly as possible. That should be your goal. If they land on your Facebook page, your goal should be to get them to your website as quickly as possible and put all your time and effort there. Facebook is leased land. You don't own this property. It's rented land that's, and the rules are going to change, and the condo association is going to give you rules that are going to be different tomorrow than they are today. Don't focus too much on Facebook as your home, as where you're living, because the rules are going to change and it's going to go away at some point. Focus on your website at the basics. All right, so let's talk about that. With all that said, here are the basic things that we need to do. Set up a page for your organization. Ask to become an admin. Every organization, your organization should have 3 people that have admin access on your Facebook page. We always have to be able to pass the what happens if someone gets hit by a bus test. It sounds morbid, but we do. I have spoken with so many nonprofits over the years that have had people leave their organization. We had one kid that went to, he joined literally a Buddhist monastery and left to Mongolia. And he was unreachable. No one could reach him. He was their Facebook admin guy. And so 2 years go by, they still never reached him. Finally, they had to take their website down, their Facebook page, and start over because they realized we're never going to find him again. So things can happen. Don't take a chance that you're going to lose your Facebook page and just try to call or write Facebook and say, hey, the guy that is our only administrator has left the country and we can't reach him. Can you help us out? What do you think you're going to hear back from Facebook? Nothing again, yes. I know lots of people that have tried that. It's not going to happen. So have 3 or more that have access as an admin. Develop a content strategy. Encourage supporters to engage and participate. Let's walk through this really quick. Most people have already done this. You create a page just by going to this. This is where you add an admin. You go to Settings, Admin Roles, and you click on Add Another Admin. You type in their Facebook profile and you add it in. So if you're not an admin for your Facebook page now, by the mere nature that you're here in this session tells me that you should be, make sure that you get added as an admin on your Facebook page. This gives you the ability to post and to see stats and analytics on the back end and know what's going on. It allows you to know these kind of things, like what's the engagement on your wall. I can tell you that in our page, 71% of the people that engaged with us were women on Firespring.com. 24% were aged 24 to 35. I can see some cool stats and really know how people are engaging with us online. Here's an organization that does a really good job with Facebook. It's called St. Baldrick's. It's an organization that's very near and dear to our heart. We've been working with them for 5 years. But what St. Baldrick's does is every time somebody does come in and post something on their wall, they're commenting. They're there in the comment stream. They're participating in that conversation in a meaningful way. So if you are one of those lucky organizations that's wired for engagement and people want to be on your Facebook page and talking about stuff that's going on, make sure that you're involved in that conversation. At least once a day, someone from your organization should log in, see your Facebook page, and make sure that you're participating in whatever conversation is going on. There's a long list of arts organizations that are doing a really good job, just crushing it on Facebook. I'm including that in the handout, so when we'll send this to you in the next couple of days. There's lots of them there. I'm sorry? You guys were there? Awesome. Crushing it, crushing it. All right, so here are a few power tips. Make sure you secure your username. You go to facebook.com and when you come to this, it's at facebook.com/username. It gives you the ability to customize your vanity URL, as they call it. It makes you much more findable when people are looking for you on Facebook. And a lot of us use acronyms for our name. And we want to make sure that we register, when we register our full name here, we want to make sure we use our full name, not our acronym here. And if people are searching for you by your acronym, you can, what I recommend you do is make it, say it's March of Dimes and MOD, just since that's the example we have here. I would actually call it March of Dimes, and I would do -MOD as my name, so that it's findable and searchable by the acronym and by the full name when they're looking for you. If you haven't already registered your username, make sure you do that. Buy a Facebook ad or consider it. I was in Boy Scouts when I was a kid. My dad was our scoutmaster. It was a really important part of my life. In fact, myself and my 2 brothers are all Eagle Scouts, and it's something that was a massive part of my life. And then I moved on, went into my career, and really forgotten about it. I haven't forgotten about what I learned and what it meant to me, but it was a long time ago. And then about 2 years ago, it was the 100th year of scouting, this big celebration that came up. And every single time I logged into Facebook, guess what ad would show up in my Facebook page? Facebook, it wasn't. It was nowhere in my Facebook profile. But see, what Facebook does is they buy data from other companies and bring it all in, and they all do that. It's just, that's the world we live in now. And I don't know how they figured it out, but the point is, with Facebook, you can get really hyper-specific with what you're searching for. The demographics are obvious. Like, for example, females aged 25 to 34 that live in this zip code. I can get, but I can also do psychographic differentiation in Facebook as well. Some things that break down by interests and occupations and things. You can do some really amazing things. So I know a lot of organizations that have been very effective at creating compelling Facebook ads and buying those ads. So if you have an advertising and marketing strategy to get your organization in front of more people, consider the possibility of Facebook as one of those venues. The other thing too is with your cover photo, at the very least, I recommend once a quarter, at the very least every 3 months. I shared an example earlier. I know organizations that do it weekly. I know organizations that do it monthly. At the very least, every 3 months, update your cover photo. It's okay to leave your icon photo here the same from year to year, but your cover photo should change out at least every 3 months. And lastly, configure the settings to encourage participation. So when you go into your settings, there's a thing here called posting ability. Make sure that these are clicked on. Everyone can post to Firespring's timeline. Everyone can add photos and videos to Firespring's timeline. Save changes. If you leave those turned off, which by default they're turned off when you set up your Facebook page, what that means is no one else can come and post anything on your page. And I understand why that happens. And I also understand why some of you may be scared about doing that. That means anybody that follows you, that's connected with you on Facebook, can go and post anything they want on your Facebook page. And most of us go, that freaks me out. Well, if you've been online, you know that the chances they're going to post something on your page and not everywhere else is pretty slim. They're out there in Reddit, and they're out there all over the world posting all kinds of things everywhere. That's the world we live in. And the world we live in is also an interactive two-way world. If someone posts something on your wall and you don't like it, you can delete it. It's very simple. And you can also block that user from ever posting them on your wall again. It's very simple to do that. So don't block everyone for the sake of the 1 or 2 idiots that are going to go out there and maybe say or post something inappropriate. Leave it open. Open up that stream. It will dramatically change the way people feel about your organization. Yes?
Use policies for letting people post on your page. For example, one of the ones I manage right now is for downtown Stewart only, and we routinely get people from Palm City and Port St. Lucie posting on it.
Yeah. That's a great example of a way to and you should definitely say, here we encourage participation in people posting on our wall, but we're oriented towards this specific group only. So please don't be offended. But if you post something not from that area, it will be deleted or removed. So if you post that out there and it's there so they can see it over there on the left-hand side when you go to Facebook, cool. You're okay doing that. But then just go in once a day and delete or remove the stuff that people are posting that aren't appropriate. And if someone reaches out to you, just say, hey, we really appreciate your interest, but note that we have a really strict, policy on what we allow on our wall.
To be able to do that posting ability to check, is that under the admins thing on the page?
You have to be an admin to be able to do this, yes. So first of all, the first one that I showed you, to become an admin, you have to be an admin, and then you have access to the entire panel. And you click on the settings button, and that's where the posting ability is found. Yes?
Just a general comment, as a manager, it seems that if you're worried about people posting things, it doesn't actually show up on like that main homepage. There's like a separate little screen, and it just gives you a chance to interact with people as an organization, but actually that's like, if it starts conversation, then it's great, it starts to show up, but if it's something that's offensive that nobody else is going to comment on, it's really not going to get a lot of visibility anyway.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Thank you for pointing that out. All right, so let's talk about Twitter for a moment. Twitter, when Twitter first started out, it was what are you doing was the question. What are you doing right now? And people were like, why do people care if I'm standing in line at Starbucks? And then they changed the question over time, and it's really more about what's happening is the question now. What's going on in the world around you. Now it's about reflecting on the world around you, and it changed for Twitter. And Twitter now is more acceptable and more usable. You start with Twitter by getting a handle, by just going to sign up for Twitter and signing up for a handle. It'll ask you for your basic information, your name and your email address, and you just type in whatever handle you want to use, and then you set up a bio, and you have it all set up. It's pretty simple and straightforward. It's a process of, I do recommend, by the way, I'm using a shorter handle, which I'll talk about here in just a moment. Yes?
What if you want to set up a Twitter account or an Instagram account for a nonprofit that you're working for?
Yes.
And often they'll say, what's your email address? And then you'll say, like for me, I've used it in the past, oh, that email address, you've already used it before. So how do I distinguish?
Yeah, you have to have a separate email. Yeah, it's a great question. When you set up Twitter, or most all of these other social media things, and you can't set up multiple user accounts with one email address. You have to have a different email address for each. So the easiest way to do that, if your organization has email at your domain, that's preferred. But if you don't have a POP account or an email address at your organization.org, if you don't do that, just simply go into Gmail and set up a Judy Art Lover at gmail.com, and then that's one more account you have to remember and keep record of. And I'm going to give you some tools on how to manage that later here today. But it's a little more complicated, but you would have to set up a separate email account. Yes, did you have something as well?
Yeah, we created one with social media and artarts.org.
Yes.
That's our login for our Twitter.
Yeah, just to set up a separate account. But you definitely want to have one set up for your organization and also for yourself personally, and they need to be different email accounts, just so everybody here knows that. So you can come into Twitter and manage your profile. You click on this button that says Edit Profile. You can add a header photo. You can come in and do all kinds of really interesting things. And then you want to go out and find people. Let's say I wanted to follow Demi Moore. I'm not sure why I'd want to follow her, but follow Demi Moore. I want to click on that. I click on her name, and so it brings this up. And then once I'm here, I have the ability just to click on the follow button and follow her. And then people will follow you. So they come in and they just click on your follow button and then follow you back. You can send a tweet, which is a message of 140 characters or less. If you've ever been confused as to what the whole 140 thing is, the maximum number of characters that you can use in a tweet is 140. So as I'm typing this message, when I get to this exclamation point, I have 34 characters left, right? So I've already used up my, 106 characters. So as you're typing along, it will tell you how many characters you have left. That's one of the easy ways to know kind of where you are in your thing. And it's really hard to come up with a totally salient thought in 140 characters. That's the magic of Twitter, is that it really makes you think differently. So you can read what others are tweeting about. And if you want to share that message, you just click on the retweet button and share it with your followers so that the people that are following you know the kind of things that you're interested in following about. You can use hashtags at conferences. I mentioned that earlier today. So for example, I was at a conference, TEDx Lincoln. It's our local version of the TED Talks that go on. We have one in our community. And so during TEDx Lincoln, I took this screenshot of all of the different things that were coming through. And by tagging them as TEDx Lincoln, I was able to do a search for that hashtag and see all of the things that people were saying about that particular conference. It's really powerful. If you ever attend a conference where you have hundreds of people attending the conference and there's a conference hashtag, try it out. I think you'll be interested in some of the dialogue that goes on. Like, let's say this was a conference and there were 13 other sessions going on concurrent with this one. You could have your cell phone out in the back of the room, and you can pull it up and bring up the hashtag, and you can see, well, this speaker that we're listening to is really boring and uninteresting, but man, look at the people talking about this. Three doors down, there's somebody that's on fire down here. Let's go down and you can sneak out the back of the room and go down there and talk to them. Or better yet, probably more respectful, at the end of the session, at the end of the day, you can go and review the takeaways that everyone else got from all the different sessions. I have learned more from going to conferences from the hashtags at the end of the day, the takeaways that I get from that, than I did in setting in the sessions that I attended while I was at the conference itself. It's really interesting, and it's really changing. People are starting to do it more and more. It's a really great way to get more out of a conference or an event like that one. What kinds of things do you want to tweet about? We'll tweet about events, opinions, community achievements, link to your impact stories and to volunteer stories, link back to your blog, give recognition, and of course, express gratitude. We talked about that earlier. Use keywords in your tweets, because when you tweet stuff out there and you want people to find you online, if you tweet something out there about your organization or a particular topic or issue that you support, Twitter is really powerful in search engines. They have a direct pipeline into Google and Bing and the other search engines. And if you tweet something with a keyword in it, and then you go like the next day and you search for that keyword in Google, your tweet is probably going to be right there at the top of the list somewhere. Especially if you have followers and you have people that retweeted it, and if it was something that was compelling. Most importantly, don't be boring. There are lots of nonprofits that are crushing it on Twitter. I've put several examples up here for you. These are organizations that do a really good job. Small organizations and some larger organizations, all that are based or rooted in the arts that are doing a really good job. So a few power tips on Twitter. Use a short username. I mentioned that earlier. I use Jay Wilk instead of Jay_Wilkinson or Jay Wilkinson, primarily because I know that by every character that you add in Twitter, there's about a 1% less likely chance that you'll be retweeted. That may sound silly, but the shorter the username, the more likely you will be retweeted. And they think it's because when you retweet someone, their handle is included, the name itself is included in that tweet, and that gives you less characters to add your own comments on. So the shorter your handle, the more likely people will retweet you on Twitter. That's a very, it's not a major thing. It's okay if you have a long Twitter handle. It's absolutely okay, because not all of us exist to try to get retweeted all the time, but you should know that it definitely makes an impact. Use third-party tools to post and read your tweets. Very few people. If you're an active, avid Twitter user, it's very unlikely that you use Twitter to tweet from. You use another tool, and there are tons of them out there, like Hootsuite, TweetDeck, all kinds of them. I'll share some more later on in the presentation today. And use keyword-rich data in your bio. Again, like in my bio, one of the things that I do, that I've been doing for probably 15 years now, is I work with startup companies as an angel investor. It's something that I'm passionate about. I love doing it. And I want people in my community to find me if they've got a great concept. And I will guide them off to an organization I'm part of called the Nebraska Angels that will weed out all the bad ideas so I don't have to spend all the time talking to all the folks. But I've got some great opportunities. So I want people to find me by these keywords, by nonprofits, by technology, by angel investor, those kind of things. So that's what I use in my bio. Your bio should have keywords built into it that you want people to find you by. If someone's looking for you or your expertise, what is it, what do you do in the community that you want to be found by? How do you want to be found? And those keywords should be included in your bio. All right, let's talk about LinkedIn. I shared with you already that I think it's the most important for nonprofits, and here's one reason why. This is a study that was done by HubSpot a couple years ago to understand where the online activity is happening with nonprofit organizations. And this is what they found, that the vast majority of it happens in social media, some in blogs, some in search engines. But if we take this orange piece of the pie, the social media piece, and just look at that and break it down, here's how it breaks down. The activity happens, a sliver of it in Facebook, some in Twitter, YouTube. By far, more than 50% of the online activity that nonprofits are engaged with is in LinkedIn. And so let's talk about this for a second and talk about what this means, how to get the most out of LinkedIn. So this is an example of a nonprofit professionals page, right? So this is the personal page for that particular person, and they also are tweeting, and they're getting very involved in all kinds of things. But they also have a company page, and every one of our organizations, they call it a company page. I wish they would call it an organization page, but they don't. They call it a company page, but every organization should have one set up. So your organization should have a separate page in LinkedIn that's set up specifically for your organization. It's a really important aspect of how LinkedIn should be used. Encourage supporters to promote your cause. Find board members, find volunteers. All of these kind of things can be used on LinkedIn. And I'm just kind of walk it back to the center here. Start by linking in with your established network. Let me share something with you here. To me, LinkedIn is the world's largest Rolodex, but it's kept up in the cloud, up in the sky. It's like having your own personal digital Rolodex in the cloud. If you think about all the people you've come across in your professional career, and you want to be able to know how to get a hold of them if you have a question or if you'd like a resource or like to ask for help or information, that's really all LinkedIn is. LinkedIn is never going to have the photograph of you in the hard hat helmet with the beer cans and the straw that comes around, whatever, the crazy stuff, from college that you're trying to avoid. Facebook is where the stalker kid from the 8th grade is going to be. It's not on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a professional network of people that you come across in your professional life. And so to that end, if you come across people, whether they're board members, they're donors, they're constituents, maybe they're other professionals that you're at a PTA meeting with other mothers and you want to connect with them there. The people in this room today sharing this experience that we're sharing today, we should all be connected on LinkedIn. I would love to connect with you on LinkedIn at the conclusion of this session. That's what LinkedIn is for. It's for connecting with people in your professional life that you come across. And if we see it that way, and if we use it that way, it becomes a really incredibly valuable resource for us in so many different ways down the road. That's what LinkedIn is all about. So I'm going to dig in a little bit deeper. So we do want to connect with people. If I wanted to connect with Colleen here, for example, I just do a search for her name. So I type it in, it's going to bring up, and so there might be 3 or 4 different Colleen Bazaars. I don't know how many there are, but in this case, that's definitely the one. I just spoke there a few weeks ago, the South Carolina Association of Nonprofit Organizations at ScanPo. And so before I went here and I sent Colleen a little message. I'm speaking at your upcoming conference. Would love to connect with you on LinkedIn before we meet in Myrtle Beach. And I just connected with her on LinkedIn before we went out. This is what LinkedIn is for. It's for connecting with people in your professional life. That's exactly what it's there for. And I highly recommend that you be personable and authentic by connecting and sharing people, giving them context as to why you're connecting, and connect in that way. It's really powerful when you use it right. Make sure you also claim your own personal domain name. LinkedIn.com/in/Jay Wilkinson is my personal domain. Just like Twitter and just like Facebook, you have a personal domain name on LinkedIn. And you can go here to join groups and participate in the conversation. This is a great place to establish yourself as a thought leader or an expert in a certain topic. There are more conversations going on LinkedIn than any of you possibly will know about. It's a really active community of groups and discussions that are happening on every topic under the sun. I guarantee you that you'll find topics there that are related to whatever your area of interest is and whatever your arts organization does. Tons of different things. Here's one from the Nonprofits Professionals Forum that I was just having a discussion in the other day. Ask for recommendations. We've all seen those, but give them first. This is where you come in and say, I'd like to recommend this particular person. To make a recommendation, it asks you to say, are you a colleague, a provider, a business partner, student? How are you connected with this person? You can do those. Keep in mind that if you're doing that, you want to give them a recommendation first. Go and just offer it up, and then more than likely they'll reciprocate. They'll do one back. If you want to build your LinkedIn profile, that's a way to do it. And the latest thing that they've added is this endorsement thing, where people can endorse you for certain skill sets. One thing you should know is that you have the ability to change these around. If there's something that people are endorsing you for that you don't want to be known for, go and just click on it and remove it. You can get that out of there. And you can also move things up. I want people, I think that I'm pretty darn good at whatever. I just say geek culture. I don't know where that came from, but geek culture. I want to move that up, and I want to be known for that. So then it's going to be put up on the list, and more people are going to be asked, is Jay someone who's good at geek culture? Again, I have no idea what that one is. I've never heard that. Here are some things you may not know you can do on LinkedIn. First of all, you can tag all of your contacts. So let's say you have, again, donors, or you have patrons, or you have, however you break down your list, you can go in and every time you connect with someone, you can go in and tag them in a certain way so that you know exactly how all the different connections in your Rolodex, where you categorize them. It makes it really easy to do that. You can also come in and see all the different industries that are represented on the people, with all the people that you're connected with. And you have the ability to click on a button to export your connections. You can actually click on a button. It will create an Excel file that you can take all of your contacts out and take them out and use them in other ways. It's really cool, some of the technology that most of us don't even know is there. And it's a really powerful tool. Several nonprofits that are doing a really good job on LinkedIn are listed here. This is going to be in your handout. And I want to finish this segment with this. The difference between LinkedIn and Facebook, because I think this will help illustrate what I'm talking about today. So let's say I'm walking down the street, and over on the other side of the street is someone that I know, and I temporarily make eye contact with them. Now, if that is a Facebook friend, I'm probably going to dart across the street, maybe evading traffic, doing the Heisman pose on the way, whatever, and I'm going to embrace them and say, it's so great to see you, how you doing, give them a big hug and have a conversation with them. That's a Facebook friend. If instead I just do the little Miss America wave or whatever, or casually look down and to the right and pretend like I didn't see them because I'm busy and I'm in a hurry, or acknowledge them with whatever, that's probably a LinkedIn friend. That's the person that I'm acquainted to, I'm connected with in a professional way, but it's not that close personal family member or friend, which is why we use Facebook. When I get the queries from my friends from high school that I haven't seen in 20 plus years, I don't even really know who they are, because their last name has changed or whatever, I don't accept those on Facebook. I instead turn right back. I do a little research, figure out, oh, that's her. Okay, she changed her last name. She got married. Okay, so I'll do a little research, figure out who they are. I go to LinkedIn. I send them a note saying, "Great to hear from you. I use LinkedIn to keep track of all the peeps in my life. Would love to connect with you there." Boom, done. I don't offend people by not accepting their Facebook request. Facebook for me is very personal. These are people that I've broken bread with in the last year, people that are really close to me in many different ways, and I use it that way. But by separating those two worlds out and keeping all of my professional contacts and my contacts in general over here and my personal stuff over here, I can use both tools in a much more meaningful way. And I come across things occasionally on LinkedIn where I connected with someone maybe 6 years ago. I went to a conference and I heard a speaker and they were talking about whatever. And I thought, oh, there was this guy that was talking about whatever. And I just get on LinkedIn and do a search and I find him and I'll send him a note and find out what they're talking about now. And there's so many different ways to use LinkedIn in really cool ways. So if nothing else, I hope I've convinced you that LinkedIn is a good tool to use. I can't think of a reason not to use it. It doesn't have a downside. If you use LinkedIn, it's free for one, and it's a way for you to stay connected with people that could help you in your career or help you in any other way with information or facilitate any kind of growth in your life. There's so many ways that you can use it in meaningful ways. So at the very end of this session, I would encourage you to do a search for Jay Wilkinson, connect with me on LinkedIn today, and connect with each other. That's what LinkedIn is for. It's for connecting your professional network with people you come across in your life. Yes?
You've used a couple of times the term claim your domain. Is that the same as create an account?
No, when you go and you create your account, you're going to get a username, and they'll give you all kind of logins. Once you've created a username, you can go in and you can, the domains are on here, which is exactly where you go, like facebook.com/username. And you go to that and it'll say, do you already have a Facebook account? Yes. Okay, then now we can set up your username for you. So it actually lets you set up a separate username on Facebook. So when people are searching for you, it's going to be easier for them to find you. And your username on Facebook, if you want to put at the footer of your email address, you could say, I'm on Facebook at facebook.com/myname. So it's shorter and it's more direct. So rather than say, go to Facebook and search for me, you can say, here's where I am. This is where I live on Facebook. So it's your username on Facebook. It's the same as Twitter and the same on LinkedIn. So it's a much shorter link that will get straight to you. And it also optimizes your ability to be found. All right, here's a question for you. What's the worst thing that someone could say about your organization online?
You have a bad website.
That's pretty bad. I think you have the answer.
Static.
No, you have the answer.
Oh, you can't find the name.
No,
Can't find it?
you've said it twice before.
Nothing.
Nothing. The worst thing that someone could say about you online is nothing, or they're not talking about you at all. And if your organization has existed for a year or more, I guarantee you there are people having conversations about you or the work you do online. The question that I have is, wouldn't you rather know that that's going on and be part of it than to be totally oblivious that it's happening at all? And that's really what takes us to the last part of our segment today. Staying sure that we're plugged in and connecting and conversing, but be careful, because trying to take something off the internet is trying to, like taking pee out of a swimming pool. You can't really do it. So be careful, but at the same part, get out there and get in the pool and start splashing around and have a good time. Now we're going to take a quick 5-minute break, and when we come back, we're going to wrap up today with the cool tools that we need to master our online presence in less than 50. I think you're going to get more out of this next segment than anything we've talked about today. There's a lot to cover in this segment, and I'm going to have to spend most of my time over here at the computer because we're going to be going live, and this is where the cord is, so I apologize that I'm not able to be there. But I do want to just make a few things really apparent. I know that dealing with technology for so many of us, it's so frustrating because there's so many tools and ideas and things that are being strewn out at us all the time. It feels like we're drinking from a fire hose sometime with everything that's coming out. But I will share with you that once you've mastered technology and once you use it as a way to align yourselves and to make sure that the world works for you, it's liberating. We were just having a conversation during the break about, well, I used to use LinkedIn, but it would just become such a hassle and so much time. If you're using LinkedIn properly, it shouldn't be a hassle. It shouldn't be time. It's part of your daily maximum 15-minute routine of making sure that you master your online presence. And I'm going to share with you how I do that today.
15 minutes per entity that you represent, 15 minutes overall.
You could do it 15 minutes. Well, let me pull back. We're talking about mastering your online presence in 15 minutes a day for all of the entities you represent. But you have to pull out of that. If you're doing original content, if you're developing content, that's different. That's not part of that. I'm talking about, yes, so content development may be an hour a day, but you're managing your online presence in 15 minutes a day. So if you separate those two things out, then it might make more sense for you to think about how that might happen. So I'm going to share with you, first of all, the 5 online tools that I couldn't live without. These are the 5 things that I use in my daily life. These aren't just specifically for nonprofits, but they're things that make you more efficient in terms of how you use technology. And the first one that I want to share with you is a tool called 1Password. Does anybody use 1Password? 1Password is a tool that makes it really simple to manage all of the passwords in your life. I don't know about you, but this used to drive me freaking crazy. My father, who I shared a photograph of with you earlier, has a little notepad next to his computer, his legal pad, and all of his passwords are written down in this legal pad. It sits right next to his computer, so when he's typing, he can look them up, and there he is. And it sits there all the time. Somebody breaks into our house and steals his computer and the legal pad, they're going to have access to his bank account, to everything in the entire world, because it's all right there. And there are so many of us that do this on Post-it notes and all these different things. And worst of all, there are those of us who use the same password for everything. I've seen a lot of common, So this is the tool that allows you to escape that. I'm going to start with a little video that will explain a little more about how it works.
You have hundreds of accounts for websites, apps, and services, and each one gets a password. Most of us take something easy to remember. Dog's name backwards plus the year of our first place. You can use that for everything. Easy? Sure. Secure? No, not at all. One account will get compromised. Your whole life could be turned upside down. The smart thing to do would be create a unique password for every account, right? Secure? Sure. Easy? No, not at all. So what do? Write them in a notebook? Sticky notes? Make up a song? No. What you do is use a super smart, super simple app called 1Password. With 1Password, all you need is one password. What the app does is collect all your unique passwords into one super safe place and locks them up behind something only you know, your 1Password. And it's integrated right there in your browser. So when it's time to log in, just click the button, enter your 1Password, and you're in. Here's another thing. You come to a new site that asks you to make a new account. 1Password will generate a new secure password for you and save it where it needs to go. Next time you want to go to that site, just hit the button. 1Password will do its thing, and you're in. And it's not just for passwords, it's for all sorts of information you need to keep safe. Bank numbers, credit cards, top secret ideas, files. All locked up, no one can get to it but you with your 1Password. And your passwords are with you wherever you are, because your 1Password syncs automatically to every computer and device you own. So it's always up to date. No more sticky notes, no more dog names, just you and your 1Password.
All right, so that's the tool. And I'm going to share with you how I use it here in just a moment. Yes, question? Your 1Password, the password that you use to manage your account, you should change probably, I change mine once a month. I change that up once a month, but that's the only password that I have to remember. I don't have to remember any other passwords. I can use my smartphone, I can use my tablet, my iPad, whatever, I can use my computer, and 1Password works across all of them. So I go and I just open up whatever, say if I want to go to Amazon and buy something, I click on the Amazon icon in 1Password and it logs me in. I want to go to Facebook, I click on it, it logs me in. So how is that secure? It's way, 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 way more secure than what most of us do, which is have 1Password, again, that we plug in everything. So if someone does get our password figured out, they're going to be able to come in and log into every one of our accounts. But your 1Password, the one that goes in is installed only on your computer. And it's kept in an encrypted key which I'm going to get a little too technical. I apologize for that. I'll back up and maybe not be so technical. It's kept in what's called an encrypted key out there in the cloud that no one can break into that. I shouldn't say no one because I'm sure someone will figure it out some way, but no one has figured out how to break into the encrypted key. Same way that no one's figured out how to break into tokenized payments. When you make payments of something online, the reason that your password or that people don't steal your credit card number every time you buy something on Amazon is because they use a token. They don't actually plug in your credit card number. They use a token. Your credit card number is stored here, and the token says, well, so if someone steals it, all they get is the token. It's good for nothing. So without sounding too complicated, it's way more safe than anything else you'll do. And it costs money. I'll share that with you here in just a moment. So let me give you an example. If I want to go to Facebook, I hit a command key on my keyboard. I use command period, and it automatically brings up my 1Password. I plug it in, I type in my password, and it logs me into Facebook and takes me inside. If I come into 1Password and log in, I've grayed some stuff out so you can't see all my personal data here. You can see all of my logins here, every login that I have. I've got 257 websites that I have logins for. I'm sure you have a similar number. We all do. This makes life so much easier to have it all in one place. And I have my secure notes. I have credit cards, so if I want to buy something on Amazon, it'll automatically, I say, which credit card do I want to use? My company card, my personal card, which one? I click on the button, it fills in all the data for me, and automatically I can buy it. I don't have to go pull out my wallet and type in my credit card number every time. It's really cool. The ability to manage identities. I use that by curation. For example, when I sign up to newsletters, which I do a lot because I like to see best practices, I want to know, I might be signed up for some of your newsletters. I want to know best practices, so I have an account set up specifically for that. I set up a Gmail account at jcurate@gmail.com, and I check all of those separately so they don't cloud up my inbox. I don't want them all showing up in my regular inbox. So I have separate identities, and so I might sign up for things differently. I have my other passwords that may not be on websites that I need to keep in mind. My wireless routers. So if I go to my parents' house, it's automatically set up to log in. Social Security, software licenses for all those little software apps that I buy, driver's licenses and passports. It's all right there. This is how I use my 1Password. It's remarkably simple and easy once you set it up the first time. It's done. Here's the cost. This is of the 5 tools I'm going to share with you. 2 of them cost money. The other 3 are free. This is one that costs money. It's $50 to buy the software, and that's a one-time fee. It's not monthly or annually. You buy it once, and then you have it. And then every 3 to 4 years, they come up with a brand new version, and you have to buy the new version. So you might go to, it's like Microsoft Word. It's kind of like how that works. So you can also buy packages. I think it's for like maybe $69 or something like that. I bought a package of 5. So my kids and my wife, we all share a package. So we have 5 packages for I think something like $69. It's a fantastic tool. And my life, honestly, is better because of this tool. It simplifies things for me in a great way. All right, the second tool I'm going to share with you is a tool called Doodle. Anybody who used Doodle? We have a couple doodlers out here. Really simple. This is a basic, tiny little tool. But have you ever tried to set a meeting with 3 or more people on email, where you send out, like, say, to 10 different people? Let's pick the best date for us to get together and talk about XYZ event. And you do it on email. It's like, oh my gosh. I mean, you get some people reply all, some people don't, and you end up having. It's more complicated than if you would have just got everybody on the phone and tried to arrange it, independently. Doodle fixes that. It makes it really simple to come in and say, okay, I sent an email out to the 3 people that I want in this meeting. Here are the different date and time slots that are available. Pick the ones that you are available. So you just type in your name and plug them in. You can get Doodle absolutely free. You should not pay for this. There are some people who want to pay for it, $39 per year. What that gets you is it strips out the ads, and it also makes it possible for you to integrate it with your calendar. So I can, once these 10 people have said, okay, this is the ideal time slot, I click on that slot, it will automatically add it to your Google or your Outlook calendar, whatever you use for your calendar app. So I don't recommend you need to pay for that. Again, it's nice if you want to pay $39 a year to help the software developers out, but it's absolutely free, and it's a simple tool to use. All right? That's a really easy tool. Number 3 is Dropbox. Dropbox is a tool that I use to save my life in so many different ways. We're going to start with the video.
To buy lunch and realize your wallet is in your other hands. Or maybe you left your keys at home. The problem is organization. You need one place for everything, like a magic pocket. Putting something in the magic pocket means it's always there, no matter what you wear or where you are. The same thing is true for computers. If you have more than one, keeping track of all of your files can be a pain. Solving this problem is one of the big ideas behind Dropbox. It's like a magic pocket, a single, secure place for all of your stuff. Let's meet Josh, who is preparing for a big trip to Africa. Right now, all of his trip info is spread across his laptop, desktop, and phone. He needs to consolidate it all, and is tired of having to email files to himself or move them around with a USB drive. Then he found Dropbox. which creates a new kind of folder on his computers. These folders work hard to be exactly alike, even across Macs and PCs. By adding his itinerary to his laptop Dropbox, he can be sure the same file will show up in his desktop Dropbox and even on his phone. The same thing happens when he saves a document in a Dropbox folder. The document gets updated across all of his Dropboxes. But it's not just his computers. The Dropbox website also works to be exactly like his other Dropboxes. Anything he puts in Dropbox is available on the website automatically. This way, if his Jeep takes a dive and his computer is ruined, he can still get to his files on the Dropbox website, where they're always backed up. As it turns out, Josh's Safari was a success, and his laptop made it home with lots of videos and photos to share. Instead of emailing everything, he just shared a Dropbox folder with his mom, so she could get copies of photos she wants to frame. Because it worked so well for travel, Josh made Dropbox the home for all of his stuff, so it's accessible anytime, wherever he goes. Whether you're traveling the world, running a business, or simply organizing your life, Dropbox means you can stop worrying about managing files and backups and get on with your next adventure. You can download Dropbox now at getdropbox.com.
All right, that's Dropbox. This is my desktop on my computer. I just did a screenshot of it. Unlike a lot of people who have just tons of stuff strewn across their desktop, I'm one of those people that organize into folders. So everything that goes onto my desktop goes into a folder instead of on my desktop. But all of my folders are synced across all the different computers that I use. So if I go sit down at home on a computer that's connected to the internet, I have access to all of the things that I work on in my life. It doesn't matter if it's on my laptop or on my smartphone or on my iPad, everything syncs up in the same exact place. So I have access to that information. If I take my laptop and throw it in the ocean, and everything that I had in there, all the photographs, everything is now completely gone and sunk to the bottom of the ocean, I go over to the website, dropbox.com, and I log into my account using my secure password that I made on 1Password, and I log into my data. I will never again have what happened to me when I was a long time ago, and this was the worst thing that you could possibly imagine on a computer at least. I took all of my photographs from my children from the time they were born to the time my youngest was 4 years old and put them on a hard drive and backed it up on my computer network every single day that had repetitive backups thinking that I'm safe. Well, I didn't access that hard drive all the time, and what happened is the drive got corrupted, and then over 30 days it backed up a corrupted version, and I didn't open the hard drive. When I finally got to it and opened it up, it was all gone. And I lost every photograph, every birthday moment, every video, everything that I took of my children. That's the perils of digital photography versus the hard stuff that we used to have. Instead of fires, now we worry about data corruption. You know, it's a different world. So that's never going to happen to me again because I now have a place where everything is secure, and if I lose everything that I have, it's still secure up there. So in my case, if I open one of my folders, my document folder, here's all the folders that I have, and all of these are connected with all of my devices. And several of these folders, like the ones that have little bullets next to them, I share with other people. So for example, I can share folders with my wife for personal things. I can share folders with our accountant that are financial related. I can share folders with different things with different people in our organization so we all access the same documents. So I no longer have the issue of, well, I've got copies of all of these bylaws and documents over here. Our lawyer has them all over here, and our accounting guy has them all over here. We've got them all in one place, and we share that folder. It's really cool to be able to do that. And I can also go log in online and access that same information again. So I could walk out here and sit down at the reception table outside, and I can access all of my stuff from someone else's computer if I have the login. It's really great stuff, and you can get Dropbox absolutely free, and for many people that works fine. The crossover point for most of us is if we're going to save photographs. If you want to archive your photographs, which I do, based on the story that I just told you, I actually use this version, the $9.99 a month version. And so that's what I pay for Dropbox, is $9.99 a month. They have versions that are available for teams and that are at discounts for nonprofits. If you just go poke around on Dropbox, you can find a way to get a better deal for nonprofits if you're working with teams and several people in your organization. All right, number 4 is a tool called Evernote. Evernote if you think of Dropbox as this giant hard drive in the sky, right? This is where I just keep all of my stuff up here, and then I have devices, my computer, my phone, whatever, that I can connect with that giant hard drive in the sky and access everything. Evernote would be the giant filing cabinets that are in that hard drive in the sky. It's a way to organize the stuff that's there. That's what Evernote is about.
Evernote is a way to capture all your experiences and access them anywhere. Type a note, store documents, record audio, capture a photograph, or any other moment you want to remember. Evernote saves and synchronizes your digital life across all your devices. No matter where you are, Evernote is with you. Use it to stay more organized. Plan your next trip. Design and manage a project. Clear your e-book letter. Capture a moment. And always find what you need. Life is full of experiences, and Evernote helps you capture, manage, and remember them all.
All right, so let me share with you how I use it. This is my Evernote folder. It has all of the different documents and things that I do. So like I have things with my company, with Firespring. I have like my speaking stuff where I organize it into categories, the things that I educate nonprofits on. One of the categories that I have here is this thing called conferences. These are conferences that I attend. So I'm attending a meeting or a conference like this one. I have my little tiny 11-inch MacBook or my iPad that I take notes on. And during the conference, I have this folder up so I can just take notes. I can write text. The cool thing about Evernote is that right in line with that text, I can post a PDF file, I can post a Word file, I can post an Excel file, I can take the PowerPoint file that the speaker shared and post it right there, and I can keep everything all in one place. So as people say, well, why can't you just take notes in Microsoft Word? Well, Word doesn't allow you to embed the files, the PDF files and the graphics in line like that. This tool allows you to just take notes and then stop and say, I'm going to post it. I can take a photograph of the screen and just post it right there. You can do so many things to manage and keep things organized, and it's all searchable now. So I can just go to my search bar and I can look for anything and I can find any content that I have in any of my folders. I also use it personally. This is the screenshot from my cell phone. So these are the folders that I have in my cell phone. One of the notebooks that I have, my wife's name is Tanya, and if I click in Jay and Tanya's notebook, one of the folders that we share in there, this is going to sound kind of silly, it's a glimpse into our personal life. When we go out to events in the community, we come across all kinds of people, we know, and it's like, okay, this is going to be the fundraiser for the Playhouse, and last time we were there, we met this couple, and we never remember their names. It's like, okay, who are these people? So we have a folder, we just call it names. That's the name of the folder. And so Mark and Michael's party, Tim Burke's dinner party, Leadership Lincoln. And this list is long, but these are the names of people we meet at parties. So let's say we're going back to Mark and Michael's house for another party, and we're going to go hang out with them. We can pull this up before we go and say, okay, who did we meet the last time we were there? Because they're probably going to be there again. Then we remember these names. Seems like a silly thing, but we share this folder. So we walk out of the party, and she's got her phone out, and she says, okay, we met Tom and Mike, and we met Jill and Judy. And so we start adding the names to the list. And then the next time we go to there, and so we both share the same document. And we did the same thing with we need milk, we're out of bread, whatever, that kind of stuff too. But this is a more interesting example of kind of how we use this as a way to collaborate with each other. It's really simple tools. Evernote is a way to keep your life organized. Evernote is also free. I don't pay for Evernote. I actually recently signed up for the premium version only because I just really want to test it and kind of get a sense as to what it does. And it really, there's nothing more that I'm able to do here than I was able to do here. So I wouldn't recommend you pay for Evernote. Hopefully there's no one from Evernote in the room here today. But the free version is absolutely adequate for what you'll need it for. The last tool that I'll share with you today is PicMonkey. Simple tool, along the lines of Doodle. This is the way that you can, when you go to your website to update the beautiful page at the top, the little bar that shows up at the top, the cover page, you can come into PicMonkey. It's free, by the way. You choose, okay, I want to create my own Facebook cover. Click that as the option. It'll say which photographs do you want to use. You can bring those photographs in. You can overlay text and titles and graphics, and you can build your own pages. It's really simple. They make it really easy to build cover pages. You can do this for Twitter, for Facebook, for your Instagram pages. They're formatted in so many different ways. So if you're uploading photographs or you're trying to build a simple cover page and you want to know how to lay text on top of an image and do it in an easy, simple way, this is the simplest tool to use. It's remarkably easy to use. It's absolutely free. You can upgrade if you want to Royale, but there's no cheese on it from, I don't think anyway, but you can upgrade to Royale for $275 a month. And what that does is it adds all kinds of, well, as it says, it adds a kingly horde of primo effects, fonts, overlays, and textures. That's why it's called the Royale, I guess. So it's just a way to get more stuff that you can build into it. All right, so there are two basic steps that we all need to focus on. If we're going to master our online world, there are two things that we need to think about. Number one is we need to think about how to listen, how to know what's going on out there. This is something that we should have learned when we were 3 or 4 years old. And then how to engage. It really all comes down to listening and engaging, right? So I'm going to share with you some listening and engaging tools that nonprofits use, and then I'm going to go in and show you how I use them. On the listening side, number one tool that I'm going to share with you is Google Alerts. Any Google Alerts users? We have a couple. No really good reason not to use this. It's a simple, free tool. You just go and plug in the name of your organization or whatever search term you want. Like in this example, it's Firespring. And then once a day, once a week, once a month, as it happens, I can select how often I want to be notified. It's going to send me a digest of all the mentions of your name and your organization's name online. It's very simple. It's just a way for you to monitor what's being said about your organization out there. So you're listening, you're really trying to learn what people are saying about you.
Do you have any idea though, like, for instance, if something's mentioned in the Palm Beach Post, it shows up. If something's mentioned in the Stewart News, it doesn't show up. So there must be a feed system.
Yeah, that's odd. Because if you're searching for the same term and it's not showing up, that doesn't make any sense at all. Other than, the Stewart paper is not going to have as much panache and much clout as the larger papers. But you would think that would show up. I don't know why that wouldn't show up. I would think that it would. But here's another tool similar to Google Alerts. It's called Mention. And Mention does cost a little money, but what it does is it allows you to have the same kind of information where it's going to send you a digest of all the mentions, but it allows you to be more specific. And I'll show you how we use this. At Firespring, we wanted to find the word Firespring. Well, a couple years ago, there's a church that started up in North Carolina under the name Firespring. That's the name of the church. Of course, we didn't send them a cease and desist letter. They're people of God. We're not going to send them a letter to tell them to go away. So what we did is we set up Mention that allows us to say we want to find all of the expressions of Firespring and none of the expressions that include the word church. So now we are finding Firespring but not church. So it minimizes, it cleans up the list. So we can actually have negative expressions in addition to positive expressions, in other words, to be more specific about what it is that we want to find. This tool does cost a little bit. I think it's not much. I think it's like maybe $30 a year or something like that. But you do have to pay for it if you want to use this tool. Another great way to listen is just to go to Twitter. just go to twitter.com/search, and you're on Twitter's search engine. And you type in a word that you want to find, and it's going to bring up all of the discussion, all the things that are going on about that word or that topic. If you do this every so often, once a week, just kind of go in and look, again, you'll see all kinds of things that are coming through Twitter. Feedly.com is my favorite listening tool of all. I'm going to go in and show you here in a few minutes how I use that. It's a way to build your own personalized newspaper, news source, so you can find information that's interesting to you. And one that I've just thrown in for the fun of it is called Addictomatic. It's a little tool that allows you to build your own dashboard. I can say all my Twitter, WordPress, friend feed, YouTube, Google, Flickr, delicious tags, whatever, they're all there. It'll bring everything together all in one place on a dashboard. All right, let's talk about some of the engagement tools now. These are the tools that we use once we've listened and we know what's happening. How do we actually engage? We start with Hootsuite. How many Hootsuite users do we have? No one's using, we only have 2. Okay, 2 using Hootsuite. Hootsuite is a tool that makes it possible for you to listen in a really cool way. This is how I use Hootsuite. I set up what I refer to as a listen tab in Hootsuite. And I build into that all of the mentions on Twitter, and I can do this for myself personally and for the company Firespring, all the direct messages, all of the updates that come through LinkedIn, so all of my LinkedIn stuff, and all of my Facebook wall posts. And this is an organization, I mentioned it earlier, TEDx Lincoln, that I'm involved in the planning, and I brought it to Lincoln. And it's an organization that I'm an administrator for, so I have access to their wall, so it shows up right here. So, but I can come to one page and I can see Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, everything that's important to me all in one spot. So you want to know how you don't have to spend more than 15 minutes a day online? You build dashboards like this so that you can manage everything in one place. I can actually engage in the conversations on any of these walls right here through this tool. I don't have to go back to LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter separately to do that. I do it all from this spot. TweetDeck does largely the same thing. This is a competitor of Hootsuite. It's now owned by Twitter, so it's really Twitter-centric. It's really focused more on Twitter than the other social media tools. I tend to prefer Hootsuite a little bit over the 2. Yes?
You were saying that you can actually post content from Hootsuite as well?
Yes. Yes, you can post content from Hootsuite. I don't do that a lot. I'll share with you what I use to post content in here in just a moment. You can also use Facebook itself as an engagement tool. Facebook will like, for example, did you know that a photograph, a powerful image or photograph, is going to increase your likes per post head and shoulders above even a video, above a question like we were talking about earlier, a status report? The best thing you can do on Facebook is to post photograph, but to know what engages with your audience is really helpful. And Facebook gives you these kind of tools. All right, Buffer app. This is the tool that I use the most often to post in the different media. This is my favorite of all of the apps, and I've tried all of them and experimented with all of them. Buffer app is the one that I think is the most easy to use. It basically allows you to set up how many times a day do you want to post, and I chose 4. You can choose 1, none. You can choose once a week. You can choose 10 a day. You can do whatever you want. I chose 4 per day. And then when I come in to my wall, it allows me to say, okay, well, here's a tweet that I'm going to send out or a post. I'm going to send this to my networks. Do I want to post this on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Twitter, on my Facebook wall? Where do I want this to show up? And it's going to post wherever I tell it to. In this case, I've chosen LinkedIn and I've chosen Twitter. I'm going to post that same message onto both at the same time by sharing now or by putting it into my buffer. If I push the buffer button, what happens is it just goes into the next open time slot that I have. It'll just line itself up to a moment and share with you how I do that. The other thing is dashboard tools, the ability to manage finance, your program, your human resources, your board of directors, fundraising. Having a dashboard tool that makes it possible for you to truly engage and know how your engagements are working is really helpful. I would encourage you to think about how you can set up a dashboard for your organization. And in the amount of time we have left, I don't want to go too much deeper into that. Other than talking about the tools themselves. All right, I'm going to click over here and share with you the top 3 tools that I think every nonprofit should be focused on: Google Alerts, Feedly, and Buffer. And I'm going to come in and show you just really quickly by clicking over to a live website how I use these tools really quickly. First of all, I would start by coming to, let's go to my Feedly account. And you can see here, make sure that's coming up all right. I'm bringing up Feedly, and you can see that I have several categories set up. I have diversions, life hacks, marketing, nonprofit, and technology. Let's say I want to look into my nonprofit folder. So I've built this folder as a way for me to organize the articles that I like to read about. And I can scroll through, here's stuff that's just posted today. I can look for headlines that are interesting to me. And I can really focus in on whatever it is that I want to focus on, right? So I scroll down until I find an article or a headline that is something that I really want to know more about. And when I select that article or headline, let's just click the first one on the list here. And I'm going to click on that. I can come in and I can read the article right here. And if I come to the article, I can visit the actual website where the article was posted. And this is where I would go next. in order for me to share this with my network, let's say I like this article, I like what it said, I really enjoyed reading it, I'm going to click on this little applet that's installed right here in my header bar. That's a little applet called the Buffer applet. And by clicking on that, and I just, to install it, I just dragged it in there, and it just stayed right there. And I click on it, and what it's going to do is it's going to pull up that article, and it's going to actually plug in the headline for me. I didn't have to type anything. Developing a modern public relations strategy. Here's the nonprofit communications blog. I might add something here. Cool info. I would probably add something a little more insightful than that if I had time to think about it. But right now you can see I have it on LinkedIn and I have it on Twitter. And I can also add it to Facebook. I can add it to wherever I want. I can add this to the queue, to my buffer queue, or I can say I want to share it next, or I want to share it now, or I can schedule a post later. But I'm just going to add it to the queue. So that's going into my buffer queue now. Articles that I read and consume during the course of a day as I'm reading through this, I can find them, I can see what's interesting to me, and I add it into my queue. So now if I log into Buffer, I'll go over here and look at Buffer now, and I can scroll down and I can see, okay, let me scroll down to the bottom here. I'm in my analytics, I should be in my content, sorry. If I scroll down to the bottom, that's the article that I just added right there. You can see it's right there. I can now move it around, I can move it to wherever I want it to appear, but I want it to just stay right there. That's in Twitter. I can also look over here into my LinkedIn page and I can see, well, it's going to be at the bottom of that page as well. And that's going to post on Friday, the 20th of March. That's queued out quite a ways away. So this is how I do my post. I don't actually go on every day. I have so many people in my network and my community saying, man, you spend all your time. What do you do? How do you possibly post all this stuff? And I share with them, well, it's secret. I can't talk about it. I spend, the way that I do mine, most people, I recommend you spend no more than 15 minutes a day doing this process. I actually do mine a little differently. I spend about 50 minutes once a week on typically a Wednesday is my day that I do this. And on Wednesdays, over my lunchtime, I'll go sit at my desk and I will go read articles. I'll read them on Feedly. Feedly is an engine that I'll add it. I'll go in and I'll say, oh, I want to add this in, and I'll just move it right to the front of the queue. Or I'll post it now. So I can keep going, I can keep doing that as time goes on, but I don't have to go in every day and do this. Is this making sense to everybody? It's really simple as a way to manage this so that you don't have to get sucked into it every day. So then I'm going to share with you the rest of the week. So again, mastering your online presence. Up front, it's going to take a little bit of time to get all this set up. Most of you already have your Facebook page set up. You have Twitter and LinkedIn set up. But you're going to take 3 to 6 hours up front to get this stuff installed one time, and then it's done. And this is all in the handout, by the way. And once it's there, you're going to take less than 15 minutes a day, review your content, tweet your headlines out, check your buffer queue for activity, engage with people right in Buffer. In Buffer itself, you can go in, and I'll go back and show you that here in a moment. And then check your Hootsuite account to listen and respond. And if you're a thought leader, and this is kind of where we were going earlier, if you're posting content and you're working on content, it's going to add a few hours per week to do that if you're originating content, which I highly recommend you do. But the maintenance of mastering your online presence, what I'm talking about now, and creating this aura that you're always out there and you're always updating stuff, can be accomplished in less than 15 minutes a day if you average it out. And again, this is how I do mine. I do mine 1 day a week, and you're right, the number's 28. Look at that, we got it right. Check Buffer queue, check your Hootsuite account, and then the remaining 4 days a week, I literally spend less than 5 minutes on Hootsuite and Buffer engaging. I check my LinkedIn, and this is what it's part of my process, because LinkedIn, to accept friend requests or accept your contacts, I have to go to LinkedIn directly. I will log into LinkedIn and I will accept any connections that people have asked me to do. If someone connects with me on LinkedIn, I'm not worried about it. They're not gaining access to anything in my world that I'm worried about. So I accept anything that people send me on LinkedIn, no biggie. And then I add news and relevant information as I discover it across the week. It's very simple. Very, very, very easy. You can keep this simple, straightforward, and just make it happen. You don't have to overcomplicate it. And far too often, that's what we're doing. We're trying to make it feel like there's so much out here. So basically, the combination of these tools that I just shared with you are what makes it possible to do this. I'm going to go back one more time because I want to share with you in Buffer. When I'm posting things out here in Buffer, I have the ability to come in and I can see in my analytics tab here all of my recent posts. So if I go to, say, Twitter, and I want to see the recent posts, and I can scroll down and I can see, okay, well, let's just scroll down a ways and find one that had, maybe a few more. There's a couple that have some action. But let's see who these people are. These two people are retweeted. I can see who they are. I can follow them right here. I can also click and just respond and engage in dialogue with them right here. So the conversations that I'm having with people I can do through this tool. I don't have to go log in separately to Hootsuite or whatever. But if I want to, I can click over to Hootsuite, which is asleep, and I can click on my Listen tab right here. And again, there's my dashboard that shows a live view of all the things that are coming into my different places. And I can do it all right here in one place. I don't have to go to each of these different sites in order to engage. It's remarkably simple. It really is simple, but it also makes it feel like you have so much leverage, like there's so much out there. And this is how, over the course of my time working in this, that through Firespring and through myself personally, as someone who speaks and trains and educates nonprofits on these kind of things, that I've been able to at least have the appearance that I'm out there all the time. I'm really not. I'm here right now. I wasn't posting for the last 3 hours as we were sitting in here, obviously. All right. It's not nearly as scary out there as sometimes we make it look, but if you don't get started on this today, it may be a little too late. So my recommendation is you to take some of these ideas and just start doing it, and you will get the hang of it. Just focus on what you're doing, not on what everyone else is doing. That's the most important thing. All right. More good advice from the little ones. No, that is not my child, but I know the father of the child. More great advice. Just worry about yourself. There's so many things that other people are doing. Just focus on what makes sense for you and your organization. A few action steps. Focus on return on investment, not on cost. This goes across everything in the world of technology and all the things that we're talking about. There's so much opportunity to leverage our organizations up if we just focused on return on investment instead of just cheap cost, because there's no return on investment in that. Make a great first impression with your website. We talked about structure, design, content, functionality, vitality. Make sure your website is focused on all those things. Use a content management system that makes it possible for you and key members of your team to update and modify the information, the content on your website. You should have 3 or more people that have the ability to update the content on your own website. Make sure you have a minimum of 5 landing pages to increase conversion. Organize and maintain a team blog for your organization so you can sustain it over time and it will work and it will have effect on the growth of your organization. Set up a Facebook page and ask to be an admin for it, and make sure your organization has a LinkedIn company page set up so that people will be able to find your organization on LinkedIn as well. And use at least one online engagement tool. My preference is Buffer app. I think it's a great tool to use, and spend no more than 15 minutes a day managing your online presence. You don't have to spend more than that if you really focus in on it. I would also encourage you to attend other free Firespring webinars. We have a ton of them online. You just log in. If you go to firespring.org and click on the click on the education tab, I conduct all of the ones on this screen. We also have other folks from our company that do them. So this is what I do. I stand in my office and I conduct a 1-hour webinar on topics ranging from email marketing geniuses, social media, online fundraising, how to be found, secrets of SEO, how to avoid donor attrition, creating a vibrant culture in your nonprofit, 5 trends shaping a new reality, the power of blogging, supporting or converting supporters with landing pages. A lot of the content we covered today, in a little bit, we go into depth, we go down the rabbit hole in each of these topics. It's simple, you sit at your desk, you log in, you just kind of ask questions through the panel. We'd love to have you join us for some of those. If you have any interest or questions about any of our educational content, you can reach out to Lori. Her contact information is also in the workbook today. She's the Director of Education for Firespring. Just a tiny little bit about us. I'm going to take literally 2 minutes here and share with you what it is that we do to make sure you have that context as we're wrapping up today. What we really do is we help nonprofit organizations leverage their mission by using technology. We help nonprofits take their website and move it onto a content management system by choosing a theme and package that works and plugging it into an existing content management system where you would be able to build your own event registration tools, newsfeed, so that vitality we talked about. We actually provide content for our clients to plug into that if they don't want to go out and blog or if they're not ready for blogging yet. Landing page templates that are built in the style that we have just explained to you today, where you click on a button and it builds the landing page for you. You just plug in the information. Search engine optimization tools, online donations, the ability to take donations right through your website without having to be unprofessional and sending them to PayPal. PayPal, you know what happens when people go to PayPal, right? On the credit card information, it says PayPal, the name of your organization. It makes you look cheap, and you don't want to look cheap. Our online donations is actually cheaper than PayPal. It costs you less money than PayPal, the tools that we use and plug into ours. And then also the donor database tools that allow you to connect all of your donor data in with your website and your website in with your donor data so that everything is in one place, and it's amazing what happens when you put that together. And we finished the puzzle with legendary support and training. We have amazing people. This is what they do. This is what they care about. They will walk you through any issue, any topic, anything you need help with. Whether you want to watch a video and do it on your own or get real live help, we can help you with that. And every one of our websites includes a mobile version. So when people log into your website using a smartphone or a tablet, they would have a really professional presence. And this is what we do, is we help nonprofits just like yours all over the country by taking your existing website, moving it onto this platform, and it's $89 per month, which is the most common theme, and this includes everything you would possibly need to just knock it out of the park with your web presence. And right now we have a thing going on with the Firespring Foundation, which is a private foundation that we funded. They're giving 20% funding grants to select nonprofits who want to knock 20% off the price to get started. All you have to do is be a 501c3 to qualify. And it's a simple process to go through. So that's about us. I don't want to spend any more time on that. If you do have more questions, I would encourage you, there in the contact information, I know in one of those brochures, you can just reach out and say, hey, we'd love to learn more about whether we're a good fit for your technology or not. We'll help you with that. So hopefully you can use this information that I shared with you to go out into the world, empower your donors, empower your volunteers to connect with your organization in a meaningful way. And lastly, we would love to know how we did today. If you have feedback or comments or questions for us, our email at hello@firespring.com is listed on the back of there. If you just want to write something up about whether or not this was helpful, impactful, if you're going to be able to do anything with the information, or anything we could do to make it better, we would appreciate your input. You can also share that directly with Nancy, and she will forward it on to us as well. So we just wanted to make sure we had that in there. That's all I have. Thank you. And thank you, Nancy, very much for organizing this and making it happen. You guys are awesome.
I'm glad you